get so hesitant. You will have to excuse me because I'm literally not prepared again. I'm failing again. But I was watching and engaging, and it was the first time I was a monitor on Lauren's page. Um, Part of me is like, watch her video, but it's also towards the end slash in the really middle. She's covering the case between, I think his name is Shane Norman, right? I had it out here somewhere. Yeah, Norman, that she found, and it's really it's not boring, but it's definitely more professional and less PR-y. But yeah, you'll have to like bear with me as I'm getting everything up and running. Everything up and running. There's so much. Oh my gosh. There is just so freaking much on the South by Southwest stuff. And how many tabs does everyone have opened on their laptop? Because I think mine is over 100 tabs. I have so many different screens. Like on Mac, you have all the different screens, and I have so many different Chrome windows, and each of those have like this one alone has 7, and that's a small one. So, oh my goodness, I'm like wired because I was like chatting, and my little fast fingers came back. I haven't typed in a long time, so what do I want to do here? What is going on? What is going on? That is, I guess, not what I want. Is that what I want to do? I think so. Okay. Oh boy. Oh boy. I don't think I can't even see if anyone's on here yet. If you are, let me know how you're doing. If you want, if you don't. Oh, hi Chrissy. Are you like doubling? Don't leave Lawrence, or like watch her replay at least. But yeah, for the first time I was like, I'm not gonna advertise or like say anything about my channel. I was enjoying it so much, and I was hoping she would be done by now, but she has quite a big task ahead of hers. Let's see, this I need to change. Sorry, I'm like really hi. I'm like really behind, or really unprepared. But I have so much to cover myself. For me, as I mentioned, there's Amazon boycott. Check that out, or don't check that out. Don't do that. Don't buy these things. But I am going to feature IMDb today because that is included in one of my many things on this list. Oh, thank you. Now I feel pressure because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to let you down. Like I shouldn't have said anything, but I appreciate you giving me a chance. But yeah, so there's the Amazon. All right. Do not disturb. I was asking my friend in LA about the $10,000 because quite a few people said that, oh, $10,000 is like average, or they were insinuating that in LA. And I was like, I know people in LA, and that does not sound right. So I was texting her, and she knows definitely a lot of people in LA. And she was like, no, not really. That's not average. And also, I was watching, I looked up, and this was in 2020, that lawsuit, or 2021. And I was looking up now the rent prices. And I know that the neighborhood of my friend, that used to be her neighborhood, at least, I know that was a good neighborhood. And rent is definitely not $4,000 unless it's like for more than one bedroom or studio, which, but I think the top was like $3,000 or so. But it depends. Like everywhere, it depends. It's not a given. But I think based on like that guy was just saying all these like things that like no, this is something's off here, and probably why the case was dismissed. Um, so yeah. Wait, does this work? Yay, it works. Oh my gosh, I have like two screens and I can't see anything. Anyways, all right. So, oh, tonight the star of the show probably will be South by Southwest, even though I really want to get to the court hearing thing. Part of me, because South by Southwest is happening now, part of me wants to leave the court hearing for another video. We'll see. But I do want to highlight the things that I mentioned earlier today in my live, meaning the Man Enough podcast with Paul Feig or Feig, um, aka Coward, according to ChatGPT, is what that translates to. Literally, I'm not name calling him. That's literally what that translates to in German. Um, or fig, like the fruit fig. But I love figs and I don't like him. So yeah, I was going to say something really mean actually. Um, Talking about, the whole his wife commenting on Instagram comments. That's I kind of covered that on Instagram, pretty much all of that, so I'll zoom through that. I covered that. What did I say? I covered that earlier on YouTube live on my like earlier live. And then I'm going to mention a few little tidbits from Lauren's live, but go check her whole thing out. But just like my little moments, like $10,000 a month in LA is not average. Or when I say average, I guess I'm talking about like what would I make there? Because here, I'm in Ohio, I do not make what probably a lot of people would make, but I make the average. Does that make sense? Probably that doesn't make sense. Um, Anyways, and I'm aware that was the film industry, and maybe he was expecting more, but it sounded like that typical person that is very like go getter and um, presents himself or herself in the interview like I'm the missing piece of your puzzle. And I we all do that to a certain extent, but it sounds like this person is really that I'm going to advance my career, I'm going to, or like they, came from a background where they're like I have to, I have to advance my career. You could say that I came from that background, but I don't care about money. I care about money only because, and I still don't care about it enough, only to like make to do good in the world. And you need money to survive and to. I was actually just talking about, you know, directing. How can I get to the directing part of, career, and like for real, not like short movies and all my little things. And I was talking to a big person around here, and yeah, it's like you need money to like make your movie. Let's say you crowdfund that, but to then submit it into festivals like South by Southwest and places, you need money for that. So I'm like, great. Um, but anyways, going to talk about gosh, I don't know. There's just so much. I was going to organize this, and then Lauren was like, I'm going live. And I was like, I want to watch her live. Everyone, I just know too many people that are going live now. Um, Seems to love Blake Lively. Yeah, Paul Feig. I'm going to say his name. I feel like I have to say that for the next few times. For anyone who doesn't understand why I'm saying Feig, that's how the German pronunciation, which is his name is German, or like Yiddish. Wow. If you don't know, I'm Romanian and I get my E sounds confused sometimes. But yeah. Um but yeah. Um Sorry, there's a lot of ums. And it's so interesting. I want to mention this. I'm going to start with this. As a viewer, Like when we were all on Lauren's channel, I was like, don't rush. It's okay. We're chilling here. We're here for you. You know, like so many of us were like, you know, as a viewer, you were like, it's okay. And then when you're doing this, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm not going fast enough. I'm saying too many ums. I'm scattered. You guys don't even know the mess that I have in front of me of all the disorganized tabs opened and everything. And I need like a monitor. Oh my gosh, I just thought about something. Like, yeah, I need my monitor back, I guess. I gave it away. But, yeah, so it's so interesting, that duality, when, you know, you're an observer, you're a viewer, the way that is so different. And when you're doing it, it's like pressure that when you're on the other side, you don't feel that pressure for the people that you watch, but it is suddenly there. Hi, Maria. Hi, Maria. Welcome both. I just came from a live, a little overwhelming. Yeah, yeah. Who are you watching, Maria? Hi, Angel. Um, Chrissy and I were on Lawrence, and say hi to Chrissy, everyone. She's new here. I was I was like super typing according to Wanderer, someone there. I was like fast typing, lightning typing, and it was all anxiety. It was like anxiety driven, not like anxiety, I guess, but like that nervous energy. Like I was just so excited and I was nervous, and yeah, I yeah. Definitely I need to watch her live again, because I missed so much on that, because I was like reading everyone's like message, and yeah. But anyways, welcome here. So much to get to. I'm going to start, as I promised earlier, with the comment that, oh, and I'll just watch me like pull all the things that I have opened as a tab today and open them again, because it takes me less time to go search for them than like typing them, but less time, I guess, to I can't type and talk. Oh my gosh. Okay. So there was a actor on actor kind of video with yeah, variety actors on actors, Mikey Madison and Pamela Anderson. Also, April 4th, support this movie. Nice Indian Boy. It's coming out. Wayfarer production slash Justin Baldoni was one of the producers. I think he was an executive producer or a producer. Let's see. Hate this freaking ad, and you can't like X out of it. Sorry. I'm supposed to be. I did not buy this, guys, but it did pop up on my Amazon, and now it pops up everywhere. But yeah, I'm supposed to. Oh, he was a producer. Cool. So yeah, support a nice Indian boy. I wonder if there's a. Hold on. I wonder if there's a trailer. But I want to talk about Anora, Mikey Madison. Yeah, on how she declined having an intimacy coordinator. All right, let's see this though.
Did you all?
All right, is Max one of those things that we're supposed to boycott? I don't know. MGM. Where's my sorry. My chat needs to be somewhere at all times over here.
Hi, Jeremy. Was drinking water today and thought of you. Delete. Hey, Edmund. Hey, Ben. I was talking to my mom today and I remembered you have a mom. Delete.
I think I did see the trailer for
portrait
this.
Day. Ooh. The photographer is hot. I've got an extra ticket to a film screening if you want to join me.
I'll check my calendar, but yes, I think I think I'll be. Which movie?
Tell me how you feel.
Oh, Mindy
Do you
Kaling.
watch a lot of foreign films?
Looking like a snack, looking like a whole meal. I'm adopted.
Actually, I don't even know that music. I should be playing it.
Divana Sanam.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just want to eat it.
Oh my gosh, this actually looks really fun. I am actually really excited for this.
And no displays of physical affection.
At least this boy is Indian. We think it's wonderful that you're white.
Oh
Isn't this like also such an interesting moment after we were just talking about that case for those who were on Lauren's chat? This is like such a moment of irony. That umbrella guy. Oh my gosh. Is that the guy? I know one of you, I don't know if you were the one, Maria, like you mentioned that last time when I was talking about
Your family.
merging things.
You didn't tell them
It
about me.
escaped me.
How do you expect us to react? Go off to live your own life. We don't know anything about you or your relationships. Nothing.
Can I have that?
Sorry, I'm okay if this is not monetized, but I don't want it to be like, hey, take that down, or oh, we're not showing that anymore.
The people we love, I want the same thing with you.
My only gay son is getting married?
Always surprising.
Aw.
Of love. The family, the wedding, it's about everybody together.
This makes me emotional. But yeah, anyways, check that movie out. A Nice Indian Boy, April 4th. It's not my movie. It's Justin's. You know, he was one of the producers. I think Wayfarer produced it as the studio, so check it out. Only in theaters, April 4th. Unlike Another Simple Favor, because let's talk about that. That's going straight to streaming from South by Southwest. Now, this was also, did they win or was it just nominated? They had over here, world premiere at last year's South by Southwest, Best of Fest Top Films, Palm Springs, Hamptons International Festival, official selection, opening night film at New Fest. Okay. So, yeah, I guess, but I don't think Another Simple Favor will like premiere on Amazon Prime and then come out for like a, premiere. So, yes, that feels like a little win, even though, it's kind of irrelevant. But this is Another Simple Favor release date. It releases today at the film festival, and then on May 1st, 2025. Not relevant for us. But yeah, it's all just going straight to internet. So, yay. I'm surprised, though. I'm really surprised. Thoroughly surprised. I wonder if this was like the case from the start, because it just doesn't make sense to me. It looks like a big budget film, right? So, anyways, but I need to leave these open to include them for everyone. Hi, P. For anyone new, I try my best to include the links at the end, all in the description for anything that I show. All right, I think this is kind of close to where...
Mark Barden here.
This is so sad, and I always feel so guilty skipping it, but I also, like, yeah. Gosh, another one. I think it's pretty much at the same time, though.
But it wasn't passed down to my father, and then I don't know any other languages. So I was basically starting from Russian is very much at the outside looking in, like even history between you and each of
It was kind of like my warm-up,
Oh, shoot,
which was
which is never really going to be how we do the scene each time. So that it was definitely challenging. This is such an important part of it. And so I was like, I really have to like just dedicate all my time to learning that.
I'm
So I
sorry.
would like fall to
said,
sleep listening to like 10 hours of
3%,
Russian
like,
speaking on
energy.
YouTube, and
because you really are establishing who she is. So it was
As I mentioned at the top, I am not 100% prepared. Today was
really just trying to,
incredibly crazy.
I was just trying to
hectic.
understand if what I was doing was working.
But
Like I way.
I was going to ask you about that. Like I've said it before, but intimacy coordinator
There
or
we go.
not,
And showgirls are not encouraged to
I made
coordinator. That's the big.
Like you're in any position to judge me.
Did you have an intimacy coordinator? That's the big thing now these days, right?
Yeah, well, you know, for our film, we didn't. It was a choice that I made, that the filmmakers offered to me if I wanted to bring on an intimacy coordinator or not. And at the time, Mark Eidelstein, who plays Yvonne in the film, we decided that it would be best just to keep it small with us, and then Sean Baker, the director, and Sammy Kwan, his producing partner, and his wife. And so I think that we were able to just really streamline it, shoot it super quickly, and there are less sex scenes, more sex shots. That's what Sean likes to say.
Which is like pretty cool, pretty interesting to look at it that way. And because there is a difference, I would say. But it's interesting because I feel like Anora, I wouldn't say that about Anora. I would say that there's like scenes, not shots in it. But compared to other movies, but I thought it was interesting because it is intimacy coordinator is like a hot topic, has been, because it's only been like a hot topic for under 5 years, or no, sorry, more. 2020, you know, those years just get meshed together. But now, yeah, there is, and with this case with Blake Lively, I don't know, when was this? But that's definitely even more. That was 2 months ago. So December 17, that was before the case. So yeah, but now with the case, it's probably even more of a topic and more of a question. But I thought it was interesting because has anyone, I don't know, can I make poll? I think I can make, seen Anora? I'm going to make it so simple. It's an interesting choice, but this is something that I remember seeing from a Broadway star or Broadway, you know, actor or something, performer, and where she talked like real professional actors. She can tell the difference, or people can tell the difference between real professional actors and actors that are green or new or don't take it seriously or aren't able to do it as often because they have to pay the bills and they do it, you know, intermittently or whatever. Because real actors understand that sometimes you're uncomfortable, sometimes there are a slight boundary crossing, but in a safe environment. Like you have to understand, and like she was explaining, like they worked together, they had an understanding, they she didn't say it this way, but basically you created that safe space. And so, you know, it's like this whole talk that mainly Ryan Reynolds has this like fixation on intimacy coordinators and hating them, which is such an interesting passive aggression. Especially when his wife alleges SH, and you know, for years he's been passively aggressively talked about this, I feel like, and or at least I guess the last few years. And you know, my brain just left, I don't know, but yeah, well, yeah, run charge it. But I don't know if P is on 3%, like as a person, and like you're running on 3%, you know, take care of yourself. Or like if your device is on 3%, charge either way. Charge either way. That umbrella guy did a graph showing BL in our Google history. Oh, did he? Oh, interesting. I like the data stuff. So 100% of you, 5 of you at least, said no, you have not seen Anora. Yeah, it was not my cup of tea. It wasn't like a terrible movie. I think as a filmmaking movie, I could maybe study it and see it and stuff, but like as a viewer simply, it wasn't my cup of tea. And it was very triggering because as our instructor too mentioned, the first, she said like the first half of the movie, but I would say most of the movie is about these schmeck scenes. I say that, but even though I just played her say that word, and yeah, it was a lot. I don't know if that's like if that had something, but I talked with a few people that said like it was odd. It was like anticlimactic, which I guess that's fair too. Um, aw, you're getting a lot of love, P. Um, I don't know. I just wanted to show it as just a little interesting tidbit based on, the story that we're all watching now with Blake Lively and the whole intimacy coordinator saga. But yeah, if you watch it, you'll understand that this is a pretty big deal that she chose not to. My personal question, and I don't know, I'm gonna do a quick Google search 1 second. Because my personal question is if the movie The Apprentice, had an intimacy coordinator. Because the one scene in there, I was like, this is traumatizing. Oh, I wonder if I can even show these words on here. Hold on. Let's see.
As an actor, it's important to approach a scene like this with respect and to do the research, because even right now, today, this moment, there are a lot of women that are going through something like this. And if you have to portray it, do it in a way that it feels authentic and it shine light on issues like this, because things like this should not happen. I stand up behind, like, not only as a woman, as a human being, you should not go through any kind of abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse, domestic abuse, public abuse, any kind of abuse, narcissistic abuse, which I think it's in this specific scene. It should not happen. But as an actor, I also felt safe to trust my director and to trust my partner that this is going to be in good hands. And we had a stunt coordinator, we had an intimacy coordinator, it was a closed set, so we trusted each other and there was a lot of communication between all of us.
This is
trust my partner
that gave me chills. That gave me chills because I thought this should have been what Blake would say. Not so much about the intimacy coordinator or whatever that specific, because they didn't have a specific seat. They had like one, but trust me, it was nothing compared to the Apprentice scene. Nothing. So, I can't do more than one poll. Oh wait, I think I can end it. Oh, well, you're on, Arnaldo. I did not mean to do that. I'm like flustered just clicking on everything right here. That gave me I think because I think my Meisner class on Wednesday unlocked my emotionality quite a lot because I'm like really moved by everything and I can like tear up. But this I feel like should have been how Blake Lively should have talked about this. And I don't mean the scene itself and how she felt comfortable and all that. I don't mean even that. I mean about what she said about victims and making sure that it was authentic for the victims and also like respectful and all the stuff. That's what I meant. Like, gave me chills. That's how, she should have talked about it, and how like she believes that no one should experience or go through any kind of abuse. All this stuff is like what we're really looking from Blake. And if I can pull up what Blake said one time when she was probably criticized so much for, sorry, I know like there's so much news going on. I keep seeing like South by Southwest content and I'm here talking about old stuff, but I was like, I don't know. I like that I found that moved me. I don't know. think I can find it maybe. But yeah, she was like on a red carpet at one point, and I can't find it. Okay. I don't know. Yeah. You guys didn't see The Apprentice. I know someone watched it and couldn't take it apart, the reality that's happening and their feelings about Trump and stuff. I would highly encourage to watch it and to put that aside. I didn't even need to like consciously put it aside because the movie was so good, and I don't know, it was automatic for me. But I would highly encourage you to watch that. But either way, the scene that she's talking about is really hard to watch. Really hard to watch. And I was like really interested to see if they had an intimacy coordinator because of the scene. And I mean, it's so authentic looking as someone who didn't go through that, but it's chilling. So yeah. Again, maybe, Blake didn't feel comfortable. It's interesting because that's the thing. Like, Blake didn't mention the one scene that was, kind of similar to this. And I mean, like, so slightly because it was so much lighter than than this scene in The Apprentice. Like, if you see it, you'll know what I mean. But it's still, it can be traumatizing for people who have trauma, and it wasn't great and whatever, but it was intimacy. But it's interesting that her SH allegations were on things that were not SH really, right? Like talking about her dead father. I mean, that is uncomfortable, but not SH. It's maybe H, and other things. Yeah, but anyways, Blake spoke to the intimacy coordinator on the phone, so she had their phone number. Did she? Wait, where are you saying that, or are you saying that? Do you have proof? I love this interview. She hit close. Yeah, everything. That's exactly what Blake should have said. Yeah, she's amazing. I'm seriously. I know the topic is maybe not ideal, but that, like, just trust me, watch the movie. In a time when you feel like able to be centered to watch it from, and also like if you have trauma, don't watch it. If you have trauma around this stuff or any kind of thing, don't watch it. But it's only one scene, I'll say, in the whole movie that's around this. But yeah, she did have her number. Okay. I don't understand why. I don't know. Maybe because there's so many things that are people like. I was watching Dave Neal's, coverage because I was late. I completely forgot that the hearing was, earlier. Slash, I didn't really pay attention at what time. So I was watching Dave Neal's before he took it down, and yeah, I feel like he was laughing at the one lawyer saying, "I have 8 short points." She was actually pretty fast through those points, and I appreciated that she's like, "This is number 1, this is number 1, this is number 1." It was very nice and easy to follow. But I think, yeah, there's so many things that a lot of things are getting just like lost. Like intimacy coordinator was a big thing. Was there, was not. Did Blake meet with her? Did she not? Because that's a pretty important one. Did she call her? All this stuff. You don't have to wait a year. It's in GB's. Okay. Wait, I'm so confused, Chrissy. I'm sorry. Where did I ask you previously, like, if you could like, rephrase in the other live? Because sometimes I read and my brain is not working when I'm reading your comments. you're saying that in the civil lawsuit in JB's, it says that with the phone number. I don't remember that. Okay, but anyways, yeah, I sidetracked to this, but I mean, it's a win for me. I am so glad that I found this. This was a great find, in my opinion, as far as like comparisons to people that, you know, took this very professionally. And again, not to say that it was Blake's fault. If there was no intimacy coordinator, which there was, but maybe it wasn't at the right time, because there is a chance, I don't know, but there is a, plausible chance that, Justin hadn't done a movie like this, but I think he did, but I don't know. And, Blake has certain traumas or something, and so she needs extra intimacy coordinator safety than other people, and he didn't know that. She didn't communicate that, or maybe she did, or whatever. But I think she would have said that if she did. We don't know. And maybe he just thought, well, of course, like we have intimacy coordinators for like intimate scenes, but like not intimate scenes, like staring in each other's eyes kind of scenes, or like kissing or whatever. Because everyone has a different comfortability. I don't know. The information about the intimacy coordinators in the civil lawsuit, I didn't read anything that was definitive. Like the only thing that I remember from the lawsuit was that he met with her. Blake didn't want to. Justin messaged like a Sony exec or whatever that, hey, Blake's not, this is what she's saying, which was interesting. He was like, gotta make sure I'm covering my bases. And then in his amendment, I think, or in the timeline, there was a little bit more information around, what was it? It was something more. But I didn't see details of when there was like, oh, his notes on the intimacy coordinator's conversation. And which to me, sometimes I think too much like a lawyer or like a judge or like the opposition lawyer, because I'm like, to me, that's not saying anything, because those notes could be his notes. I mean, I hate to say this, but I mean, it's not like they won't say it, although knowing her lawyers, they might not even think of that. But yeah, and there was like something around that. But I will admit I didn't read her amendment, or like her entire amendment, or initial complaint, Blake's. The information about she did when they were filming. Yeah, I don't know. So, but I think she still claims that there was none during like the dancing scene. This is what I'm talking about. Like, it's one thing for like to say, intimacy, like when they were on the couch and the whole thing later in the movie, for those who watch the movie. And it's another thing when you need intimacy coordination for the birthing scene or the dancing scene and stuff like that, which maybe most people don't need. Like, I don't think I would need it. So, and maybe Blake did. That's what I'm trying to say. And I don't remember. Sorry if I just completely took that out of my mind, or I didn't read it or something. I know I read all of his complaints, but it might have just skipped my mind. Is that a word? No, I don't think so. Or a phrase. Okay. So, all right, let me close some of these things. All right. Paul Feig. I think this is a good segue. Let me also just close out of this. Also, by the way, Aviation Gin, Ryan Reynolds' gin, was sold in 2020. According to IMDb, I need to read this. Like, I need to show you guys this, because this is a nice little dig. So, according to IMDb, or whatever article, Decided being Deadpool wasn't cutting it anymore. So what did he do? He just sold his gin brand, Aviation American Gin, for a cool $610 million. The guy straight up pulled one of the slickest boss moves in Hollywood's ever seen. Why is that the slickest move? Isn't that what they all do? They make something and then they sell it. Whatever. He also steered the marketing through his own company, Maximum Effort, and blah blah blah. So there you go. It's not his anymore, since 2020. So, because that was a tiny topic regarding South by Southwest. All right, so let's see. The intimacy coordinator was not there for the dance scene. They said the scene didn't require one, right? But Blake said basically that there should have been, like, because they were, when the scene came out, I believe they were like, there was no intimacy coordinator, and look, she was uncomfortable. Yeah. So, all right. Sorry, let me pull this up over here. And, ooh, should I go into, which to go first? Yeah, let's go. Let's do this. This is Man Enough podcast. This is going faster. So sorry. I hope everyone can like pick up, or it might go too fast. But you probably have seen this on, I think it was Donna's live that I saw first, or Elsie's TikTok, or Elsie, I don't remember. It's out there. But let's give this a watch too. This was on January 30th posted. Don't know when it was recorded. Sometimes these are recorded in advance. Sometimes they're like then. January 30, 2023.
Maybe you can answer it in a way that's directed to Justin, but also in general to people of how they deal with maybe the question he asked. So we're a studio, Wayfarer Studios. We're doing a bunch of things. One particular project we're doing is a book that's called It Ends With Us, written by Colleen Hoover, partnering with a major studio. And it's a big deal for us, right? Big property.
You know, the last.
How do you know when it's time to end a relationship?
Let me just share a little bit about something that we're doing, and I would love to hear your response. You can answer it in a way that's directed to just, we're doing a bunch of things. One particular project we're doing is a book that's called It Ends With Us, written by Colleen Hoover, partnering with a major studio. And it's a big deal for us, right? Big property. Justin's at the helm directing this. Justin, if you don't know, and I'm sure you do, is already an established director. Has done 2 fantastic movies, as well as other things as well, right? He's the head and brains and creative genius of our studio. And
where's this going?
It's going somewhere. Leave me alone for a minute.
Somewhere nice. Come, Justin, accept it.
Yeah,
come on, man.
Exactly. Accept it, right?
It's going into my imposter syndrome.
Yes,
it's about to go into my imposter
syndrome.
syndrome.
Earlier when we asked you.
There you go.
Yep. When's the last time we asked you? When's the last time you didn't feel enough?
Sorry.
And
it always freezes on the wrong frame. Always. I just wanted to point out that he already said that he has imposter syndrome. And the other thing too, like, we're not great lie detectors as humans, but to an extent we can see when someone's being genuine or not. To an extent, like, I don't think Justin's like a master manipulator. And you can see just even from there that he's just like genuinely scared. And because this is like a bigger movie and stuff. And yeah, anyway, sorry to interrupt. I was like, why did I even interrupt? I don't know.
One of the first things you said was, well, we all have this imposter syndrome. Well, Justin too, right? He's brilliant and he can have it. A lot of us are.
I do.
So now we're about to go into prep and all the stuff for this movie. And he's going in and he's going to do brilliant. And yet there's this person in the back of your mind, in the shoulder, that's reminding you of how you can fail, how you may not do this right, and such and such. What would you say in your experience that maybe this is addressed to that question, but also in general as people, humanity, and as men, as we question ourselves all the time? What would you say to a Justin and the likes that could be useful?
I say, let it happen. It's going to be there. I don't trust anybody who doesn't have it, because
So I'm going to like slow it down a little bit or like chop it because there's like it also kind of repeats itself. But I won't remember everything that I want to say, I think. But I I don't disagree with that. It's a little odd because so directing requires honestly a lot of prep. So like was he saying let it happen, like just you're in it now, go with the flow. Go with the boat, you're in the boat. Then yes. But otherwise like it's not like you just like show up and like whatever is happening is happening. You again, I'm like an amateur director. I haven't done much. I have not done anything Hollywood scale, all that stuff. I've done short movies. But what I've learned from what like directors do, and also what I've tried to do, and sometimes done, sometimes not, is so you get the screenplay or script done, whether you write it or someone else. You get the screenplay. I believe, and I don't know, this one I might be wrong or outdated, but script is like once it's like ready for filming, and screenplay is like someone wrote it and then it's not like put into a technical eye. But you go through the script and you analyze the script and you break it down. You break down uh, like in so many different ways, but scene breakdowns and then like angles that you want to shoot at necessarily. That's a conversation also with the cinematographer sometimes, but like you can have like certain um like images. The director of The Substance actually talks about this. Like she had like she wanted it to be exactly like she saw it in her mind, so they did storyboarding off of like what she wanted to see, like exactly the placement in the camera. She might have been a cinematographer before. I know the rhythm section director was a cinematographer before, so she had that kind of knowledge. Um, but you have so much prep, so much prep. You don't really leave it to chance. Some directors do. I don't know again what he was referring to, but just wanted to put my 2 cents in for that one, for that little bit.
Because it's like super confidence going into anything means you're not open to other people's input. It means you're not open to your own fears, which will inform you what you have to get more either prepared for, or you have to shore up for more, or you just have to be aware of and in tune with what's happening in every phase, in casting, in pre-production, in approving things, and going through the rewrite, all that stuff. And then when you get to set, being in tune with that. My thing I always say is you have to be confident enough to have no confidence.
And that one's like the big one that people pick apart. And again, so I partially agree, partially feel like, I don't know, did you purposely didn't say that the best way that you could say that, or did you just say that in the best way that you thought, it came to you? Because if you don't have confidence, you're more likely to be selfish. You're more likely to not be open to other people's input. And you're also more likely to step on your boundaries. Also, it kind of depends on your personality, on your the issues that you have, the blocks that you have. But I said this in my live earlier. Really, if he means that you have to have enough confidence to know you don't know everything. Paul deGrasse Tyson always talks about that. You have to know enough to know that you don't know everything. And I think that's like a better way of saying it. But you have to have the confidence. If you don't have the confidence, people walk all over you, or you walk all over other people. What he might mean, or, what I would say is a good advice is don't be cocky. Because a lot of people also don't understand the difference. And maybe Paul doesn't understand that difference either. And maybe Blake doesn't. And that's why they work great together, because there's a difference between cocky is not being confident. Cocky is like you go into a room and you own the room and it's yours and you don't hear anyone else and you're above everyone else. That is not confidence. So I think he's just not using the right words. I don't know if it's on purpose or not. People say it's like more nefarious, that he is doing this on purpose. I don't know if he knew. I don't know how close he is with Blake Lively. I don't know, again, when it was recorded, because they were saying that it's about to go into a pre-production and stuff. So I don't know if it was nefarious or just poor choice of language, and also just meeting Justin's insecurities, because the next part.
Because
I love that so much.
I love it. That's you, bro.
I love that.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And I want to like highlight that as a cautionary tale. Like, just because you hear something that resonates with you doesn't mean that it's a confirmation that's a good confirmation. Sometimes you get confirmation because it's confirmation bias, and it's not a good thing. And I feel like that's what happened here.
You have to go into it going, I can do this. But then when you get in there, go like, but I don't know if I'm right about all this stuff. So other people, what's your input? What's your, I'm open to what you want to do. Like, I'm not, I hate, like, especially writer-directors do this all the time, where it's like, I spent 2-3 years writing this script. You're going to say those lines exactly the way I wrote them, and blah, 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 blah.
And I want to say, there is nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with that. Don't dim your light. It's one of the hardest things to do, to have that amount of okay. Don't be dumb into that. Like I said, don't be cocky. But if you know, you know. And I was talking earlier also, as directors, like, ultimately it's your vision. If you screw up, if you make a mistake, if you make the wrong choice, that's on you to make, and that's fair for you to make. And so, like, this part I don't agree with. This is a personal preference for Paul, and it's been passed on to Justin because of his imposter syndrome, because he's not confident, because he's not, because he's not confident. That needs to go away. But, the opposite of this is, maybe the opposite is the extreme of, like, cockiness. But neither are good. Don't let other people walk all over you, and don't walk all over other people. Both are, no. Don't do that. So maybe Paul is also insecure. I don't know. Maybe it's just his style. Maybe he's not good enough of a visionary. Maybe he is, and that's just his style. So many different questions and possibilities. But this was such bad advice for someone like Justin, and just in general. And always, I guess, like, a lesson to learn. If someone's telling you exactly how to be, don't listen to them, because that probably is what they wish they would tell themselves, because they can't be that. Or, I don't know how likely it is, but sometimes other people just want to put you down and not watch you succeed. So they tell you, like, they sabotage you. But I feel most of the times it's people's insecurities that come out. Like, yeah, this is what I do like I do, stay safe. Or this is what I prefer, and this is the only way that it can be done. And that's what Paul is doing here. And I guess that's, like, the bigger message is, it's fair enough that Paul works this way. It's fair that Justin works this way. But also, like, know when to cut that off. Know that as a director, ultimately it is your decision. It should be your decision. I didn't look that up, but that Golden Globe nomination or winner, director, the Brutalist director, right? He said, like, ultimately final cut goes to the director. And I think all of us were like, was that directed to the Blake Lively thing? So yeah. Is there any more after this?
It's like, well, yeah, but you're not Shakespeare, so yeah, let's do it your way. And then if the actor has a way they want to try it, let them try it, and you sort it out.
But how do you know they're not Shakespeare? How do you know? It could be nobody that's ever worked in Hollywood that is, like, a brilliant screenwriter or a brilliant director or both. How do you know you're not that? How do you know? And honestly, as an actor and as a director, amateur on both levels, I still say it should ultimately be the director's decision. And trust yourself. And if it's the wrong choice, it's so subjective that to other people, it's the right choice. You know? This is so BS. This part, like, come on.
Out the editing room, because if you don't shoot it, then you don't have it. And maybe that person was right.
Confident enough to have no confidence. I
love that.
That hits deep, and I resonate so much with that.
We might put that on a t-shirt.
I like it.
So I have a question. So your
Don't,
resume is
Jamie,
incredible.
don't put it on the t-shirt. Sorry, I'm like in between lives. Do not put this on the t-shirt. Oh gosh.
And I say this with a lot of love, and I don't give a fuck about your resume. Right. I mean, I do in the sense of what your art and that. But at the end of the day, you are a human being walking through the world. And I imagine that, I don't know if you have nephews or, people around you that you have influence on, but they don't look at your one sheet, right? And who you are.
No, definitely not.
It's really the legacy you leave behind is more in how you deal with people. Now, your resume allows you opportunities, right? Your success of how you walk as a white, cis man. How would you say that you use all of that to elevate humanity, to champion women, to offer boys new perspectives so that our society can look different in 10 years and our business that is very male dominated?
That's a weird question to ask him. Well, I guess it makes sense, but shoot, I forget. I think I just wanted to pause just to not let this run like we're just watching their video, because this is for a purpose, for discussion, not to just
Dominated. It can look different. So maybe some tangible ways that you use.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm just very hyper aware of it. I mean, it's why I always wanted to do, starting off, women-centric kind of projects, because, growing up watching male stories my entire life, other than older movies, from the 30s and 40s, where there was kind of a real equality between the female characters and the male characters. Katharine Hepburn and Cary Grant, Bringing Up Baby, and Rosalind Russell and Cary Grant in His Girl Friday, that kind of thing. And then watching, as I was growing up, as a white cis man, totally. I definitely have a leg up, or projects that can empower the people who aren't in charge. Then that's great, and then that's gone through all my movies. But my diversity was not great in a lot of my movies, and it's only been in my most recent ones when I'm trying to get more diversity on the screen.
Why? Tell me why that is. So they weren't before of awareness.
Then you are failing as a filmmaker. Because I walk down the street wherever I am and go like, look what a diverse, beautiful world it is, and yet, okay, why am I defaulting to?
Okay, anyways, watch that. He's rambling on. I don't care for it that much. But I'll obviously include the link. Sorry, that was a long one, but it's a big one because, I mean, this is like super relevant with what's going on with like South by Southwest now and that. I do find that, I guess, a little interesting that Jamie was talking about his legacy and, how people feel around you. I don't know. Sometimes I also think an artist should be an artist. And sometimes, ideally, you go in the middle. You don't have to, go either way. I don't know. And like I said, some of the best movies, unfortunately, fortunately, however you feel about it, were the director told everyone, this is exactly what you do. And they're, not because I say they're the greatest movies. I haven't even watched them, but they're, on the top list of greatest movies of all time. So, yeah, it's like this guy who was talking about the director.
This that I genuinely admire. The name in the 45. I like in this picture. I wouldn't be standing here tonight if it were not for their influence. And finally, tonight my heart is with Aubrey Plaza and Jeff's family. Good night.
Oh, that's sad. This was not the one because he had a bunch of people behind him. But basically, this guy, Brady Corbet, he won. I think this was his first because he said he didn't have 2 speeches, and then his second one was talking about the final cut should go ultimately to the director. So yeah, any thoughts, guys, on the whole Man Enough thing? I know that's, I just wanted to see it and comment on it because I had my own thoughts on it. I don't know. And I wanted to see it in full. But yeah, this whole confidence to not be confident thing, like, this is why don't go with internet psychology, because, like, okay, out of context, it can lead you down the wrong path. All right. To keep with this Paul Feig fake, sounds like I say fake, but it's like Feig. Yeah, why did I say fake? I think I'm like going in between. I don't even. Oh gosh, what do I even like do about this? Because it whatever it did. What did it do? Like reset. And so I need to pull up Laurie's stuff. I almost want to say just go watch the earlier live for this, because yeah, I don't know if I can pull it up and if it's worth it. But I know that I had a hard time seeing this. People were just kind of like really fast mentioning this and so forth. But yeah, it's his wife's comments and the comments to her comments. And it's a brief one. It's just a matter of getting there. 4 weeks still. 4 weeks. 4 weeks ago. 4 weeks. It's interesting. I don't know. Yeah. Fair enough. Have you, like, in your own lives, like, how do you feel that applies? And this is not like, oh, it's just like kill time right now. I'm actually curious because, again, I think I said this, and I had my own imposter syndrome live, little breakdown live earlier. But, we have this imposter syndrome in everything that we do. And it's this, like, some people tell you don't be confident. It's good. That's being humble is to not be confident. And some people will say, no, being humble is being confident, but not taking advantage of, others, or, making sure you're in good balance or whatnot. So yeah. Again, you also don't have to respond. Every time I have so many questions, but or not always have many questions. Sometimes I have questions like, I sound so cheesy asking you guys for like questions. You might think like I'm just killing time, but I'm like, I'm so curious. All right, so let's share this again. Where did you go? Okay. So, this is 1 week ago. Oh, I didn't see this one. I love people that post lies and then are too cowardly to allow replies, all bots. But someone was saying like, you like, she disabled being mentioned. Also, by the way, this guy is the guy he doesn't know what's going on. He just keeps like writing like, oh, clap and heart to her. He is I think the gin maker, maybe, or member of the keeper of the Quake. What keeper? What? I don't know. I don't know what that is. And the Gin Guild ambassador for the hospitality action. Yeah. So he's like, I think he's like just, doing old people Instagram actions. He's doing his best over here. But yeah, he's definitely a supporter. I would guess they work together for the gin, or yeah. But anyways, this one wasn't the one that like had like the best which one? Okay. So Blake has already been paid. It's on Amazon. Boycotting, it's not on Amazon until May, but yeah, it's on, it's Boycotting Film Will Not Hurt Blake. It's a great film and hundreds of people worked super hard to make it great. So enjoy it, save energy, and don't hate the film. And I want to share also Anna Kendrick echoing the sentiment on South by Southwest today. Where is it? Because it kind of gave me ick vibes, I guess, personally. But it was basically saying the same thing, which I thought interesting, because people I saw earlier talking about how she's like, you know, apparently dissing Blake Lively or having worked with her or whatever. I'm like, that's not what it seemed like in this one. So let me pull this one up too.
How are you? Great. All right, so taking this on after directing, did that change your approach to acting?
It's funny. I'm so happy that I was working with Paul Feig, who I'd worked with before, and like, you know, John Schwartzman, the DP, like some of the same team, because I do think that if I went into acting right after directing, the team might be like, oh boy, you know, she directs one thing and she thinks she knows everything. And because I'd worked with them before, they were like, oh, she's just nosy. She's just like that. That's just her obnoxious personality.
That's an interest. I don't think this was the one. Sorry.
Really. I've just always been like, what's going on there? What are you doing over there? Like just in everybody's business, like a nosy weirdo with ADHD. So.
Hi, how are you?
I wondered. I think they took that down. I think they took it down. Wait.
Yeah. Like, so now the other thing I want to ask you, how do you feel like how does it feel like the movie's being impacted kind of by everything happening around going on in the world?
Why, what happened? I did ayahuasca and the last year of my life is just gone, but I've heard the movie's amazing.
Wait, thank you.
That was so passive aggressive. That made me feel so icky inside. I hated that feeling that it gave me. Her like ending. She is kind of snarky like that, and you know, sarcastic, and just kind of that has mean sort of sense of humor. But yeah. So she basically did a Ryan Reynolds and LaurieFeig in one. She's like, oh, what happened? What's happening? You know, the SNL Ryan Reynolds bit. And then who I believe that she's worked with him and they were friends or friendly, like they, you know, networking in the network. And that's how when they started A Simple Favor, can't believe I said that correctly. She was talking about that's how she knew Blake, or she knew her husband, Ryan, and you know, whatever. So, but yeah, that was like my little, I heard that there are other ones, but that's the one that I saw, because I was watching Thursday Flaws. That was not a good, that was not a good look to me, from Anna. But back to Laurie. Oh, sorry. Share my screen. As far as I'm aware, everyone gets paid before the movie. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is what I learned a while ago. Everyone gets paid, you know, for their role. Sometimes, I guess, I just learned about this. Sometimes you can take a pay cut as like the big box office star, a la Ryan Reynolds in Deadpool, the first one. And you can opt for like, is it royalties or is that just for music? But basically, once the movie is released, any profits get distributed to, I believe, the writer, the director, and producers, and only those people. But if you negotiate or something, I guess the big top name can be like, oh, I'll take a pay cut so other people get paid and this movie gets made. But, you know, profit-wise, let me have that. Let me get in on that. So to everyone, like, yes, I'm pretty sure he is hoping for a big, you know, success. It's not like a go to the movies kind of movie, so I don't know how streaming works. I don't know if it's in the same way. But yeah, I mean, I don't think any of us were like, oh, we need to, you know, not have Blake have money. I think we're all thinking boycott for future projects. So people will get the point to not work with her. So she gets the point that she needs to apologize and get it together. That's, I think, right? Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. That's, I think, where, like, we were all thinking as far as, like, boycotting. Arnaldo, I agree. A different way of thinking. I was raised in church ways. I agree with some things. Regarding the humble thing, because I know that's where I got my, like, you know, put yourself down, being humble from, like, church mentality, even though, like, I wasn't raised in church mentality, but, like, society wise, Romanian society is kind of that. But yeah, anyways, to this, and I was reading earlier the comment, but I don't want to, these are like private people. I mean, they're commenting publicly, but I saved one particular one that said, save our energy for standing up to an injustice. Where exactly should we put our energy then? And then she was saying the comment was tone deaf on Laurie's side, and really sit this one out. It may be your husband next. I didn't even read that part, I think. Also, boycott Amazon until the 14th, right? Yeah. I don't know. She clearly did not take. She was like commenting a lot. And like I said earlier, and I said on whatever live I was saying it like a couple of days ago, Laurie's like just kind of, to me, rich white woman housewife sort of like vibes. You know, like the type where she doesn't understand real life problems, where she just like is in that like make money, have jewels, have like all the jewelry, just spend all that money, and so displaced from like majority of the people how they live. And not even like willing to listen. Talk about what her husband was just saying. You know, listen to other people. She's not listening to other people. She's like, this is my mission. This is what I need to like accomplish for us to like have a profitable and successful movie and all this stuff. And like with Anna, okay, I can sort of understand that she, you know, she doesn't want to be dragged into this. But it was interesting, that clip that I just randomly like popped onto, because maybe it was like maybe it was not on Variety's like main page. Maybe that's why I didn't see the other one. Yeah. Oh, look at that. Look at that. They only posted this one on the main page. This one was interesting as far as what
All right,
she
so taking this on after
answered.
directing, did that change your approach to acting?
It's funny. I'm so happy that I was working with Paul Feig, who had worked with before, and like, you know, John Schwartzman, the DP, like some of the same team, because I do think that if I went into acting right after directing, the team might be like, oh boy, you know, she directs one thing and she thinks she knows everything. And because I'd worked with them before, they were like, oh, she's just nosy.
Which sounds like she and Blake have the same personality. But, you know, what Anna did was she went to direct her own movie instead of take someone else's movie. But it sounds like they're both kind of like wanting to do more, and they're curious and whatever. I wonder if Blake was that curious. Also, like, I hate to say it, I guess, but like if Blake is shy and she's too scared to be nosy, because I think personality wise, Anna is a lot more of that annoying, nosy person. But like you can sort of understand that's her personality, and she doesn't mean bad by it, or she does, or whatever. Like she's just that type, and she's not afraid. Whereas like with Blake, I can see how she Because a lot of times people that are controlling and stuff, they do that not just because they're insecure, but also because they're shy and they don't know how to overcome that. And they go like, it's kind of like slamming your brakes and you don't know that you need to just slightly, you know, increase your, not brake, sorry, slamming your accelerating pedal thing. Your gas pedal. And instead of like easing into the speed, you're just like to the floor and you just like speed right through people, right? Not like accident wise. That was a gory imagery. I meant like as far as like taking over projects and things. And so it might be something like that. But again, wrong time, wrong move for Blake to just take someone else's, you know, project. Neither of them took over this guy's project, even if they had a lot of input into it. It's still him and all that stuff. But again, maybe it was because he let them. I don't know. But that was like, I'm glad that I happened on that one because that was interesting. Is this interview from A Simple Life? A simple, another flavor. I might as well just give in to that. I said it right only one time. This is from South by Southwest tonight, earlier today, in Austin, Texas, on the red carpet there for the premiere at the festival of Another Simple Favor. The sequel. This one. Does she ever mention Blake? Yeah. So I have not seen this, and I don't know which one. Let's try some of Melanie's. She has like 2 here. I don't know if I don't know. I've heard it mentioned. I've not seen them. There's so much because I was like on Lauren's live. So as this was happening, and before that I was looking and refreshing, but I was looking on YouTube and everyone was like on Instagram and stuff. This is Colonel Kurtz doing what I suggested. But yeah. Let's see. Oh, I think I'm like extra soliciting the internet. Wait, can you hear me? Yeah, okay. Sorry. This is not the stuff. What is she saying here?
For it. This is amazing. Oh, the guy that's in it, I don't know his name, of course, Plantation Barbie. That is a director, Paul Feig, who is trying to really save his movie.
Hey, someone who's pronouncing his name correctly too. Well, correctly is, you know, relevant.
And there's Anna Kendrick and I guess someone else in the movie. But I just did a
someone else. Actually, I don't know his name either. But he was in Crazy Rich Asians and he was in a bunch of movies. Someone else. Okay.
Video. If you haven't seen it, I'll make sure it's linked to this one where Blake Lively's terrified to do the red carpet and that Anna Kendrick is pissed off. This is insider. Oh my gosh, I'm not as brave as her because if I went down there,
Also, she was the only one. That is brave. That is brave. Here's the gin situation. But this whole thing is about drinking.
You just made one. With us.
In Italy. Yeah, I did. Jesus, these things are strong. So I just marched right into Prime Video.
That was weak. That was so weak. Okay, not anything there.
This Blake Live.
I saw that, and then she doesn't really say anything. The reason that I don't like Melanie is because I saw the one video where she talks about oh, she's so nice to fans suddenly. When, you know, it ends with us red carpet, the one in, I think, England, she was like, oh, thank you for the bracelet. It doesn't go with my outfit, so, you know. Sorry, that deserved an eye roll, according to me. But I forget what I was saying. Oh yeah, because of the whole thing, she was reading. Oh my gosh, I have a video. I don't even remember how old that was. I don't know which video that is. I made a video on, or like one of my lives mentioned how ridiculous she was reading this article about Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, right? Hugh Jackman, and she was. I'm like, this is not my type of person. She is making just stuff up right now. And just the way that I don't like when people mock other people. It bothers me no matter like how bad the person is. I think the mocking gets to me. I think that's the thing that I don't like. But yeah, I don't know. Whatever. That's all of them. I don't know. If I don't know. I don't like these kind of movies. I lean toward action movies. I know you mentioned any good action movies that you've seen lately, or like your top like favorite or something. This I don't even know what this movie is. I think it's like a thriller kind of thing. It's Southwest Carpet. Okay, let me see if Google is pulling up anything else on this. Sorry, this is like a we're in this together. We're searching together. Cause yeah. Alright. That's not anything. Nope, not Facebook. Oh, those are martinis. Oh my gosh. Earlier in a video, I thought for real that's another movie and those were dinosaurs. I seriously thought those martini little balloons were dinosaurs. Oh my gosh. All right. I don't know. This, oh gosh. I hate this. I want to like break some news or whatever. But I'm bad at like finding this. Let's see.
Yeah, like so. Now the other thing I want to ask you: how do you feel like how does it feel like the movie's being impacted kind of by everything happening going on in the world?
Why? What happened? I did Iowa.
No, this was the one I just showed. Oh, I think. Let's see. Wait, can I just search for her name? I can't. I don't know how you spell her name. Wait, is this the one? No. Is it? No. Wait. That's weird. That's weird. 'Cause that's not her. Is it Stephanie? That's so weird. Okay. Anyways. Because I think she had stuff. Let me see if I can find it on TikTok. In the meantime, I will move on down my list. Oh my gosh, it's already 11. Okay. This is like actually funny, but that was like so random. All right. Oh gosh, I never use TikTok. Yeah, wait, that is her channel. What? Hold on, let me just put my pretty face. I'm like in a weird mood today. I was calling Anna snarky. I don't know if snarky is the word that I would be described as, but yeah, I'm in a weird mood. Playful? I don't know.
I'm here doing freestyle raps for people. Can I do a freestyle for you guys?
Oh my gosh, shush. Oh, the thing, okay. So, let's see. Wait, why is her channel not showing up? That is so weird. Is this the bots and stuff? The CIA bots preventing me getting to her channel, her actual channel? go.
Lively. These two clips literally side by side. For you, Blake, was the opposite of Anna Kendrick would be director Paul Feig.
Why is it so important for you to kind of stand up for her and be that voice in public?
Because she's amazing. She's amazing. This is my second movie with Blake. I love working with her. She's the most amazing collaborator. So smart. She and Anna are just two of the smartest actors I've ever worked with. Who every movie star has opinions about what they're doing. I have not worked with one who doesn't want to get in there and and work on stuff. And
I'm sorry, but if you're saying that Blake Lively is one of the most amazing actors you've ever worked with, I automatically just can't trust you. Like, Anna, I get it, but Blake, no. Here we have Blake.
I think that's like a little too mean because I disagree. I don't think she's that bad. I don't know. But the most amazing, I don't know that either. But that he's worked with, I don't know. We'll see who
If these two
he's
attended
worked with.
for premiere tonight in Austin.
Talking about you all day.
Oh my God.
Oh, you know, and walks off. Queen. Love her. And then in this interview clip, I would call this subtly shading Blake one from Anna. So first they ask Anna how it's like working with Blake again.
What does it mean to be working with Blake again?
Oh, yeah.
Talking about you all day.
Oh my God.
Oh, you know, and walks
okay.
off.
Interesting. I did hear about that. Hi P. Getty Images has talks.
It's funny. I'm so happy that I was working with Paul Feig, who had worked with before, and like, you know, John Schwartzman, the DP, like some of the same team, because I do think that if I went into acting right after directing.
Oh, okay. I don't think this had anything to do with Blake. I don't think this was a shade to her. Don't think so. But okay. So these are the only two out here, I'm guessing, of, you know, hers at least. All right. Well, so yeah. Probably more things will come up as they come up. But his, you know, movies and things, let's just choose director here. Let's see. Sorry. Should I even put IMDb up since we're supposed to be boycotting it? Let's see. So this is his director credits. Last Christmas. Oh, wait. Oh, that's interesting because this is the guy. What's his name again? Henry Golding. Golding? Yes, Golding. I did see this movie. This was cute and sad. It was kind of traumatizing, but like in a movie trauma kind of way. Jackpot. I heard about that. I'm just like trying to see what other actors he's been working with. If she is one of the most amazing. So Kate Blanchett is not amazing. Or Blanchett. I don't know. Oh yeah, they had an alternate ending. And now it makes you think like the alternate ending, whose idea was that? Was it Blake's? Was it Blake's ending? Ghostbusters and Spy. I wish that you could see, you probably can see who. Wait, he was a director on The Office? Huh. They had some really great actors in that. I don't know. You know, to each their own preference, though. To each their own preference. He didn't work with like really top people, I would say, either. So I don't know. I think he's just also saying that because that's, you know, that's his prerogative. If he feels that way, then he feels that way. I don't know, but anyways, but yeah, sorry. The other, I just closed out of it. I thought we were done talking about it. Just quickly, the other Laurie comment was, why don't you focus on what's important in the world? Wake up, get out of the basement, and see what's happening to democracy. Or are you woman-hating Trumpers? Someone's getting really, like, triggered. She's really triggered, you know? She's, like, really triggered. To which someone asked, "You want us to watch your husband's movie one day?" Basically, this is paraphrasing, I guess. But now his movie is no longer important, just democracy is. Yeah. So, and then thanks for letting us out of the basement. Justin successfully united the left and the right. Well, for this one at least. But yeah, and I mentioned this was on my earlier live. It has nothing to do with. I don't believe that she wrote that because of the parallel with the basement situation at It Ends With Us. I think she's like way too like narrow thinking right now. Her comments seem like so self-involved and myopic. Can't believe I threw that word in. So yeah. But it was an interesting choice of words. Anyways, I also thought, why are we not? I'm going to do this, and I think Elsie mentioned this, but I haven't seen anyone. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's not great because we're fighting the, censoring of this kind of content and whatever, but hashtag justice for Justin. They mentioned it. This is not my idea. This was on Elsie's. But I was thinking, like, yeah, this should be a hashtag. And then I was talking in Lauren's live on the chat with someone about, like, and I had this idea, like, we should, like, really all come together and do something where, like, like with a boycott kind of thing, but just like post the same thing, everyone in support of Justin, or like counter Blake initially. And I was like, oh, with a nice Indian boy movie, we should like do something where everyone's like posting that. So I'm like, I might work on Canva if no one else will, and like come up with just a simple graphic that we all could post on whatever social media we're on, if you want, in support of him, to watch that movie. So it will include both of those. But yeah, that's like I think that's pretty much all the Paul Feig's comments and topics and things. Melanie might have like risen up a little bit from my basement where I put her, because of how she just like went just really off the ledge with the whole like Hugh Jackman thing. But anyways, so earlier on Lauren's live, I just had a couple of comments, because it was like the way that they're portraying and they're like unearthing this stuff. This is like, these are my comments. This is what I was saying. I'm like, one day he's too positive, or like he's too positive. Sorry, not one day, all in the same day at the same time. He's too positive, but he's racist and feminist and misogynistic, and somehow this man can do and be all. Can do it all and be all. He can like be all of these contradictions. And I mean, as human beings, we are a bunch of contradictions, but like, it's really extreme. It's like, choose a side, choose one person. You're talking about multiple people when you're talking about him. Like, one moment he's toxic positivity, and the next, and all about love, and forcing people to like sign their emails with like, whatever, something about love. And then the next minute, he's misogynistic and racist. And not that those things, sometimes don't coexist. I feel like they didn't have like a solid grasp on these like ideas. I don't think that they did a good job convincing us that, I don't know. I guess they were trying to convince us. Sorry. Just my default is giving people the benefit of the doubt. But they didn't have like that LA Times article, and I did have some notes on it, but basically that whole article was just like literally a quilt, a collage of pretty much every dirt that they could find on him. And the reason I say that, and maybe that's not true, I know there was also something else that they didn't mention in there, but maybe it was because of something else. And I'm not going to mention it. if they want to like dig deeper, or maybe they already found it and they, you know, chose not to go with that, cool. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna help them. But and because it wasn't it, by the looks of it, it wasn't um it was kind of like nothing. But anyways, but that's what I'm saying, like they're not really shy of talking about nothing. The lawsuit that Lauren read on the Shane Norman guy, previous employee, and I had pulled up, where is it? I pulled up Wayfarer. I just found out through that lawsuit because I was like, is Wayfarer Entertainment the bigger parent company to Wayfarer Studios? And no, according to that lawsuit, they just kind of changed titles because, or in companies or whatever, because probably their focus changed from just being like a whole entertainment, and they wanted to be more of a like film studio only kind of thing. But anyways, so the Shane Norman is listed on there behind IMDb. I'm not gonna pull this up because I don't know. I don't know. Technically, like this is behind. You have to have an account, an IMDb Pro, and these are like people, and I don't know. So I feel kind of iffy to do that, but I'll talk about it in the lawsuit. Shane Norman is the plaintiff, and then they also mentioned that the only, according to this lawsuit, the only other person of color or the only other black person, and I say that for a second, I'll come back to that, was the CEO, Chief Executive Officer, D'Angela Proctor, which is a big one. It's a big one. So, and the whole thing was mainly towards like the CFO, Brian Singer, I guess. He was mentioned a lot. Watch Lawrence live on that. It's not that boring, but it was boring again. We were also just a lot of chatting. And I think it was boring because it wasn't like PR text messages and stuff. I thought it was actually very interesting, and I really wanted to get a hand. I really wanted to, yeah, to get a hold of that, but I couldn't find it, and I am not brave enough to call to get or to pay for it, and also I don't have right now the means, the funds to pay for court documents like that. But I almost did. If I would have found it, I might have, but I couldn't find it for some reason. Anyways, so the reason that I say person of color or black specifically, because there's also an Astrid Cedeno, and that sounds from somewhere in like Spain or South America. So I don't know, but maybe like he was saying like in power, in a position of power. I don't know. He is credited on IMDb as an executive producer. In the lawsuit, he was, I guess, hired as a general manager, and then he changed it because he thought it wasn't like important enough or something. And my thoughts on the ones that I wanted to share were, I don't know about you guys, but I know that I've either really believed or didn't believe, but I really needed the job, and presented myself as the missing puzzle piece to their puzzle. And employers thought I was that. And if I also believed it and they believed it, and we both then found out that I wasn't, or if I didn't believe it, but I really needed that job, eventually they found out too. So that's what it sounded like to me on like a number of things, a number of points that she read from the lawsuit, from his complaint or lawsuit. And one of the things was like, yeah, the unimpressive title of general manager. That's when they lost me, when when the, you know, lawsuit lost me, because I'm like, that is not unimpressive. What is he talking about? And hey, maybe he, you know, was a bigger deal at another company. I don't know, but sometimes some people just want to climb that ladder and they really sell you on things, and they're just like those, I call it go-getter right now. I feel like there's another name, but I can't think of it. But again, there's so many things, and I have to go back and read the Wayfarer response because that's when I had to get back on here or get on here. But yeah, and he was that for the podcast in 2020 and 2021, I think 2022. So yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say on that. I am in rare form today. And yeah. Wait, what is this? Oh yeah, and then they ultimately he was demoted and his pay was cut to $10,000 per month, which I mentioned at the beginning. Like, I confirmed with my friend that is not little in Los Angeles. I mean, it might be little, for living expenses. This was 2020 as well, but also it's like, just because the living expenses are higher doesn't mean that's like average pay. I think a lot of people wish that was the average pay. And I remember, okay, hold on, because I remember the article, LA Times article, saying that people often are given like severance pay, or other people that were not Black were given a severance pay or something. That was kind of being alleged in that article. But then I see in this little, because I didn't take like little screenshots, don't hate me, Lauren, took like 3 screenshots of like things like, ooh, this. And in this one I am seeing here, plaintiff was offered a separation agreement offering to forgive an alleged $9,000 debt. Which also, I don't even know what that means. You're getting paid and also having debt at a company? That's also confusing. Yeah, I need to obviously go back to her video. But that sounds to me like a severance agreement, right? Severance agreement, it's like, it depends on the circumstance, and also like when you're forgiving or giving monetary amount, it sounds like that to me. I don't know. So it's like, LA Times. Maybe it didn't get that one right. Okay, before I go into that one, let me see what else talked about that. Yeah, P mentioned a couple of days ago, Disney Marvel, I guess, pressured, you guys probably know this already, but I didn't know this, pressured, I guess, Ryan Reynolds to take off on social media. So, wow, I'm talking weird. On his social media, take off like the nice pool references, or at least like the big ones. Because remember, I think Jersey made some video where she was showing like different, very specific tidbits around like that. Yeah. Watch also Lauren. Okay, this is the other one. So Lauren had another live earlier this week. Watch that one. It's on another article from San Diego. It's like, please don't tell me there's like a court update, because I got an email. And there was like, specifically, there was a comment that was like really cool that she read from that. And very like snappy. I'll read this, but also just like read that whole, because that article was like, that was weird, but I really like this comment. So, sorry, I'm gonna borrow this one, or lend it, or I guess steal it. Sorry. so this comment on that article was, yes, poor Blake Lively. She got her Voices of Solidarity award taken away from her, dropped from WME Talent Agency, bullied and made fun of in a major movie, and publicly crucified. Oh, wait, that wasn't Blake. It was Justin. But yes, Blake, who had a plantation site wedding and launched a site, like location, yeah, and laughed about her co-star being born in a cage because she was born in a prison, Leighton, and laughed about dressing up as I don't know if she dressed up as a black girl in an interview or just had blackface, and able to bury any bad publicity for years. She also, this doesn't mention, she didn't just get married on a plantation, but she had a line of clothing that was advertised as the antebellum South, and it was like just bringing apparently that back into fashion. Didn't last long. Yeah, poor Blake. Yeah, sorry, not sorry, but we don't feel sorry for the Nepo baby, Blake, now that she's getting a small taste of what she dishes out. And also, someone mentioned this, and I thought, I don't know if it was like about Jamie Heath, because I thought that I heard that was another incident where Blake basically felt uncomfortable that a black man was like looking at her in her eye, and she like like she yelled or said something. But I swear I could remember that it was like a different incident, but it might have been the Jamie Heath allegation when he came into her trailer and all that stuff, which is because there was like there was more to that, and I wish I remember even who mentioned that and where I saw that. I don't know if that's like pushing it. I don't know. But she definitely doesn't have. I feel like a lot of this stuff just shows that it seems like everything's so much of a projection. The court hearing, which is the last thing I'll cover, the court hearing sounded like there's a lot of projection. They're trying to keep themselves safe from the methods they have used or would use or will use, and they're not getting that. They're still not understanding who they're dealing with. But I mean, I guess why would you understand that when you're like alleging smear campaign and all this stuff? You've painted in your mind. I'm talking about, the lively parties. They've painted in their mind this different person and different people that, Jamie and Justin and I don't know so much about the others, but who they are, that is different. Like when you look at them, there's so much content online, and when you look at them talk and stuff, it's like just very different than and again, like I understand that's not everything, sure, but it's something. Yeah. Anyways, so watch that other live. I'll link that one too in here. Let me write that note. Or just watch all her lives. That's Lauren. The Court of Random Opinion is her channel. And there was a mention, I don't remember where, about Jenny Slate and Ryan Reynolds being on SNL. I think she was just on SNL when he appeared on SNL, or hosted. I thought he didn't host. I thought she hosted once or something. But anyways, I wonder, if they'll say anything else. I wonder if they'll say anything on SNL. I mean, they should take this opportunity because people are, I'm sure, are tuning in a lot more for this reason. Because I know I left SNL way behind for a long time. I don't know how many more people are tuning in. They might know. I don't know, but they definitely will. I'm curious if this week they'll tune in more because they did what they did yesterday or last week. Yeah, coincidence suddenly that there's bad articles after the CIA guy was hired. And again, we call him the CIA guy, but he's not in the CIA currently or whatever. If you listen to Candace, that's debatable, I guess. But yeah. And I was talking about how it's like this quilt of all the bad things, and it's so weak. It's such a weak article, you know, because maybe it's weak because we know so much and or like from our perspective, but to me it just felt like such a weak article to like mention all of these things. Like you didn't have enough to just go with one thing. You had to like put all of these in a relatively lengthy article. It was scattered. It was hard to follow because they started with Flores situation, quickly went into something else, and quick, like it was just like all over the place. It was really ultimately kind of a bad article. um but yeah, it was like, it just felt like there's not, if this is all you have, like we could fill like pages on Blake Lively's like bad history, the things that she herself said. Not even like, we haven't even like seen if she's been, you know, previously sued or anything like that. She probably wasn't. I don't know, who knows. She's too intimidating, probably, and too powerful to even get to the suing stage. But which is also a good point, you know, because sometimes people who are the worst have the least amount of record on being the worst because they're so bad. But yeah, um, it was a mess of word salad. Yeah, absolutely. It was, yeah, one, like if you want to watch my reading of it, I say some things that I know I liked that I had a chance to say, but it's mostly me reading it, kind of mostly me reading it. I always like talk a lot though. All right. So before I get to the core, just making sure that everything's kind of like crossed off from everything else that I wanted to mention. I mentioned earlier that I was going to talk about Taylor Swift, Selena Gomez. I already said this in a previous live. Taylor Swift was BFFs with Selena Gomez for a long time. Then Blake Lively stepped in, and this is my opinion based on the observations of little information that we have as, you know, just watchers of these people. I don't know any of them personally, etc. I believe that Selena Gomez went to therapy, maybe still goes to therapy, and Taylor Swift didn't. And we can see just like how she like writes or has written up to a point at least where she isn't very awakened, let's say. You know, she's kind of a woman hater at the beginning of her career. That whole song that she had to change because it was quite like bad. But you know, she was young then. Okay, moving on from there. But afterwards, like it was still like just blaming the other. It's kind of hard to tell with the last one because it was, I think, a tough situation, you know, and there are some bad people, some bad guys out there in bad circumstances. Um, as far as like Maddie Healy, which is mostly what her latest album was about, was him. And so, yeah, cool, whatever, who knows? I don't know. But, you know, Blake enters the picture, what, 10 years ago or something? And it's just less and less we see Taylor and Selena. And also, it might have been like the situation with Joe Alwyn and where Selena was, because she was having a hard time, you know, because I think she was still with Justin Bieber at first, you know, because this was a long time ago. And maybe she like came out of that and it was like a tumultuous time. Like it's hard to go through that. So, anyways, but my theory is that Selena went to therapy. Taylor didn't want to. She wanted to hold on to that vengeance and that like I've been wronged and that victim mentality. so she could write songs that resonate with a bunch of people instead of like lifting them up and like helping those people elevate their mindset and, you know, take control of their lives. They're like, no, yes, blame the other, and guys suck, right? That's like Taylor Swift's message in a nutshell. So far, we'll see going forward. And Blake Lively doesn't seem like she's going to therapy anytime soon, or has. Maybe she has, and she either takes control of the therapy. Because I mean, just because you go doesn't mean that you're going. One, the therapist might suck. Two, either way, you might not even listen to them. So just because you're going to therapy doesn't mean you're putting in the work and you're actually, you know, going through it. If what they're alleging in the court case that Blake has gone to therapy is true, but a lot of us don't believe it that she did. And so my theory is this is why Taylor Swift and Selena Gomez kind of drifted apart. And they even mention it. I think it was a source in some article some while ago. Like, they're just too busy with their very like different lifestyles, different projects, etc. But it just seemed like once Blake came into the picture, Selena wasn't it. And the girls around her seemed to be more like that kind of, you know, don't go to therapy, just like talk to your girlfriends and talk to, you know, your loved ones and just like badmouth and like mock people. You know, when Taylor Swift and Joe Alwyn broke up, Ryan Reynolds, it was a whole big thing. Ryan Reynolds like unfollowed him or even said something bad about him. That's something maybe I should do a live on, or like mention my live, like do some research on before a live. And that's what it seems like. And that's not evolved. That's not like, you know, a higher function, higher frequency, whatever you want to call it. Someone who has an understanding that, you know, humans do bad things, and, or like sometimes it's just like, it's not that sometimes it's not a fit, that sometimes people hurt you and they are also hurt, you know, and I don't know. I don't know. Just more higher road type of thing. And this is all theory. This is all my theory. This is all my imagination. But that's what it seemed like. It seems like that she and Blake are, if we probably won't get their text messages. I don't know. I actually kind of think that we will see their text messages. But it's probably catty and like just bashing people. Justin, men in general, you know, just that kind of like have a sleepover and talk bad about men. Like, yeah, girl, like he's so wrong for you and all that kind of stuff. I don't even know. This is why I didn't want to have girlfriends for a long time, because I'm like, no, that's such a turnoff for me. The moment someone like talks like that to me, I'm like, just shut down. I need to get better at that, because we're all trying our best. And even people like that are trying their best. That's the best they can do at that point. Doesn't mean that's all they are, and so forth. But just, I want to mention this more so, like, I feel like Selena Gomez is like working on herself. She's had some diagnoses that were really tough, and it seemed like she really took them seriously. She wants mental health. She's an advocate for mental health. So I think it's very different, and I think those do not match. Meanwhile, with Blake Lively, it matches. And so, like, it's interesting to me that this whole thing of like, oh, we don't want, you know, mental health records to be shown or whatever. And it's like, pretty sure there's a law against that. And also, things can be redacted. And also, I don't think there is anything like that. So, okay, but cool. So yeah, but that is going into the court situation, is just more like about the Selena Gomez. This is one of my unpopular opinions, one of my like controversial mentions that I'm going to mention. Is Justin a white man? And I say this. there's so much I'm still learning about the US and about this. I remember when I saw Justin, I thought he was Arabic. And it turns out he's like Italian and Eastern European kind of mix, and Jewish. And yeah. But I say this because when you look at him, like, I feel like when this is like opinion, but more so like wanting to learn. And so please give me feedback. If you're watching this in replay, comment or whatever, or like on the chat. He just didn't look like a white man. I think he looked like a white man with the ideas that I had about, skin color and race, and people mention ethnicity in Lauren's video. I'm like, ethnicity is like someone's country, but it's kind of like gender and sex. They kind of mean the same thing, but they don't. That's like ethnicity and race, I guess. Although I have my issues with like the race categorizing. I feel like just categorizing in general. But as someone from another country, I do appreciate knowing someone's ethnicity. Like, ooh, are you from another country? Which country are you from? Or culture. And so, but yeah, like I think like way back when I came to this country and I didn't really know much, I probably would say, yeah, he's a white man. But then as I started learning more, I don't know that he he might, I guess, can pass for, I don't know. I feel like it gets a little blurry. And I say this because it was mentioned, I believe, in the LA Times article. And I was like, that was one of my first like instincts, yeah, like things that came up when I read that. I'm like, but was he? Oh, because they were talking about Jane the Virgin and him taking away from a Hispanic actor, which that's fair because he's not Hispanic. Also, around that time, when was Jane the Virgin? I believe that was like not a good thing, but that was a lot more like that's kind of what you did. You focus more on how someone looked rather than what they actually were. What year was Jane the Virgin? 2014. Okay. Wow, that was not that long ago. I thought it was like late 2000s, but not 2010s. If that makes sense. Like 2007 is for some reason when I thought it was. So okay, that was a little too late. But like Selena with Jennifer Lopez, that was a whole thing back then too, because she's Puerto Rican and not Mexican, and that happened a lot, and hopefully it's happening less and less. But yeah. Anyways, just wanted to say something that I'm sure controversial, and I will learn. But in this moment, this is where I'm at. And I'm like, wait, like I understand he's not Hispanic, although you couldn't tell. But I guess that's the point, is that it's like, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I don't know. We're not doing great as humans to like be equal. I mean, isn't that news? That's not news. Also, Eleanor the Great, Scarlett Johansson's directorial debut, who also is like Wayfarer Studios made this movie. That is an unknown release date, just and then at the SNL 50, I just wanted to mention Will Ferrell laughed with the whole like Ryan Reynolds thing, but Will Ferrell literally did Will and Harper under Wayfarer Studios, and that was a pretty like powerful personal project. So that felt a little odd to me. All right. Oh, and then as self on IMDb, both Blake and Ryan are mentioned into SNL 50 anniversary special. All right, so let's get into. Let me close out of this. Whew, that felt like such a load off. All those tabs gone. all the IMDb's and everything. You have no idea. The court hearing. I'm going to try to go as fast as I can with all my notes. How long have I been on? It's 11:30. 2 hours? Yeah. It feels like 2 hours, I guess. He says he's white on his podcast. Yeah, he's, like I said, he's Italian and Eastern Europe. His mom is Eastern European Jewish. And his dad is Italian Catholic, like born and then they became Baha'i. Okay. So I was talking more so as far as like looks, and the Italian especially part, like that could play a part in it and stuff. But when my understanding of white men, and as he was coming up in his career, what that meant was like a white man. Does that make sense? Like, like his skin was white and like his features were white, like Northern European. That was my understanding of it, which he's not. But again, I guess it is less about appearance and more about your like genetic line, I guess. Okay. So Brian Friedman, I'll start with I love that Brian Friedman was listing his clients. Sorry, court hearing time. He was listing his clients, and he's like, it sounded like, wait, who am I representing? Which lawsuit am I in? That's what it sounded like at first. And he even said at the end, like, I believe that's it. I just love that. Sorry, that's such an awkward like transition. But yeah, I just love that. And he was still on it. I don't feel like he was like super on it, but he was on it. I was kind of feeling like, don't hate me, I was kind of feeling at times, not always at all, not the majority, but at times Blake Lively's one lawyer seemed to be more on it. I think with those points, I think I was like impressed by that. Whereas like at the beginning, both of them, everyone was kind of just like word salading. But okay, the first part, the judge asked for the Lively party to be the first ones to present their case, I guess, or whatever, to talk about it, because I forget, I lost why, I didn't write it down, why that was. And it was like about Modai or something, I don't know. But basically, and it was about the PR companies actually first. And so the whole attorney's eyes only was the big one on this one. I thought it was about the protective order, but I guess that's already been decided. I think I remember, but I kind of slacked at reading the documents in the past week and a half. But they were basically talking about competitors receiving proprietary trade secrets information, including strategy plans, marketing plans, discussions around other clients, conversations and leads, and conversations with clients they're trying to, I put as leads, clients that they want to onboard on to their PR firm. And also I was thinking, who wants to come to Vision PR right now? Or whatever the other one is. Gosh, what's the other one? Jones Works. Is that, wait, they didn't mention that. Where is that one? But yeah, who is wanting to work with these people? I don't think anyone. And Leslie Jones, I believe, has a bad history anyways. So yeah. But I wouldn't, if I was a star, I wouldn't stay far away from all of these people, really. Like, I don't want to be represented by someone in a lawsuit. Are you kidding me? Not even because things would be revealed about me, but like, they're not doing a great job. They're not really good. But yeah, so trade secrets, or not even just good at their job, but like, they're not good people. Like, like my values wouldn't match, is what I meant. Judge says that he can understand leads being attorney's eyes only, AEO, but simply because they mention clients, he doesn't understand that. And PR companies are worrying, like a war. This was the lawyer saying, over who they represent, which later Brian Freeman said, like, everyone knows who they're representing. Unnecessarily, they don't want people to be unnecessarily dragged to have to disclose confidential information. So they want the AEO to be default versus having the document each time something comes up, like, hey, we want this to be attorney's eyes only. And basically, this whole thing, that's what it was. Like, they were saying, hey, we want our side to be the default. Like, we want everything to be, they didn't say we want everything to be AEO, but basically, because they can mark whatever, like, oh, this is, that kind of information. And then the other side needs to say, well, we actually don't agree with that. Whereas Brian Friedman was saying, like, we don't want to be the ones, we want our side to be the default, where there's a protective order where it's, not for the public, not certain information is not for the public, but it's for the lawyers and the clients, the parties involved, but it's not attorney's eyes only. And if that is the case, which he was trying to make the point that should be not a lot of times the case, then that should be brought up, like, hey, we need to do this, and discussed, and and eventually I kind of understood, and I'm not saying that I was necessarily on Blake Lively's side with this, but I understood the side. Like, sometimes, if you put yourself in that person's shoes, you kind of change a little bit of your perspective. But then also, once Brian Friedman spoke as well, and you really kind of take both sides into consideration, I would say it's fair that the person with the higher constraint for a lawsuit that is not on trade secrets, as he mentioned later, I think I'm kind of not going in my little notes. Somewhere he mentions, like, this is not Pepsi versus Coke, and they're trying to get their trade secret on the recipe. And he was like, someone mentioned, one of the other lawyers mentioned, he did a Tarantino lawsuit, and he's like, well, but that was like specific screenplay pages, like that was a trade secret. These are not trade secrets that you have other clients, or that what clients you have also not really interested in that information. Security and mental health and health records and conversations and so forth. Yeah. I'll say this, I'm not a judge, and this is not why, but part of the reason probably is that I would have not handled this the best way. Like, I would have taken offense to this, because this one Lively lawyer said to the judge, I know you're very seasoned in this, but this is a very common way to deal with these types of parties, or whatever. I wrote party. I might have just skipped ahead. As I was listening, I was like typing fast. So I didn't even say it, in the perfect way, but the way that she said it, the intonation, the tone, and the words, and the whole like phrase, I only wrote like this part of it. It was very insulting. It was like, I know you're very seasoned, but I know better, and it wasn't Dave Neal, because that's who I was watching. Sorry, but was saying like, oh, that's kissing his butt or whatever, and I don't agree. Sorry, I don't swear, so I say butt. But I don't agree that they were. I thought it was the opposite. I thought they were like actually just insulting the judge a couple of times with this. Like, this is, we're telling you, judge, that this is very common and blah, blah. And yeah, sometimes maybe it's because the judge usually does other types of cases. I don't know. Or they did other cases, or I can't imagine. I don't know exactly. I imagine this is where they're coming from, but I wrote like insult to that, not kissing butt. Brian Friedman did or later, and in a very tactful way too. And so Dave Neal was like, "Oh, listen to them flirt," like the judge and Brian Friedman. But the judge was kind of harsh on Brian Friedman. Yeah, because he didn't point out to the Lively parties when they were talking from allegations, and he kind of came down on Brian Friedman a lot harder about that. But yeah, moving through, turning over confidential information to competitors that were previous employees is kind of like they already know that information, and if they stole it, they already stole it. Like that's not a thing. So yeah, I wrote here a response, but I didn't write it down. I guess I don't know. And then they're saying AEO is to add an extra level of protection than the protective order, the model protective order. I guess that's the MODI, but that's not. Those letters don't match. AEO is to add an extra level of protection for materials that would fall in that category, but that would pose irreparable harm. And the judge is like, why is it insufficient? And like, give me examples. And I think the examples that were given were security measures that Blake and Ryan put, a security firm. And I didn't, because I was not a great, liver today. I didn't do all my homework. I didn't look up what that subpoena was that apparently they mentioned later in the court hearing that Brian Friedman made to Blake Lively. I thought the only subpoena that was made was for like media or something. I don't remember anything about a subpoena for their security firm. But that's what they were mentioning later on, and which is why, but at first they didn't. At first they just mentioned, these are examples of things that should be attorney's eyes only. Because, and the judge says, are you saying that you believe Mr. Friedman's clients present a risk to your client's security? And I think he even said something more like that, basically they will put these people in actual danger, or reveal their which I don't even understand what that means. What are they thinking they could be doing, And the response was, Mr. Friedman is subject to professional obligations, so no, they don't believe he would. But the parties on both sides include people whose entire living is providing information to press and content creators. And I like that she said, on both sides, both the Lively side and the Wayfarer side. Because that, I guess that's true. And the way that she was saying, I think this is where I was like, oh, maybe they have a point here. The way that she was saying it was true. This is why PR firms exist. You try to talk to publications. Hey, can you put out this story about my client? Hey, can you not say this about my client? There's all of these negotiations everywhere. So, yeah. But the judge comes back to why under the protective order, this is kind of like a moot point. So then they say, particular note, defendants themselves have bragged in their text message that about doing the smear campaign or whatever in an untraceable way. And I wrote, where are these text messages? I remember that being alleged. I think it was like something about like the PR people talking like, oh, and it can't be linked to us or whatever. But wasn't that like the mocking, the humor one? I don't know. Defendants operate on an unlimited budget, and then the hearsay quote of Mr. Sarowitz. It's interesting. I mean, he also doesn't have an unlimited. I mean, he has billions of dollars. That's not unlimited. It's not trillions. It's not Amazon money, you know, or Facebook money. But it is like it's a lot of money. But it's an interesting argument, I think, when they're just rich people. Both sides are pretty rich. Anyways, the judge the judge said, now that you've answered my question, what do you mean by the something category I couldn't hear? It appears to me that the Wayfarer part, and these are like partial quotes and paraphrasing, like whatever I could type in that moment. It appears to me that the Wayfarer parties are already privy to a lot of personal information about your client. So what would be incremental to that? Like what would be above all the text messages they already have between, you know, them and your party, all the like photos that they have, all the stuff that they have, you know, already. And the lawyer responded, even the most benign and routine information can become internet fodder. Leaked from Friedman's side regarding who will be called as a witness. They mentioned that thing with Taylor Swift. And I mentioned, like, it's hard for me to imagine that was Wayfarer and Friedman's side leak, because it didn't, in my opinion, it wasn't serving them at all to say that this early on. It really, in a way, would hurt them, because it would make them be more on the offensive, be more pushing, like, no, you know, keep it closed, unless that's what they want to. And they say that they do want things to be private from the public in some cases. And then I also mentioned, like, with the news that the, you know, prior CIA guy, PR guy, whatever, was like, when that came out, like, you wouldn't want to antagonize that, you know, any further. So I can't imagine the benefit, but I'm not a lawyer and I'm not really involved in this case, more than an outsider as we all are. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not seeing something, but to me, it didn't make sense that was them leaking it or them saying it. Because also Brian Freeman said, yeah, it's a potential that she will be a witness, because, you know, she's kind of described in this way by both parties, by both Lively and, you know, by Baldoni. So, I mean, so we already knew that too. Like, I don't know. But anyways, also, like, also doesn't make sense why that is like such a, oh my gosh, because of this we need attorney's eyes only. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. But anyways, like, which the judge says later, like, a lot of this information, if it goes to a trial, like, will be public information. Like, people will know who the witness is. I don't think the judge mentioned this specifically, but like, all this stuff will be available to the public. I love what the judge said, and I'll get to that as far as like the public stuff, because I think a couple of YouTubers said, like, he really defended the public, and as it should. Like, I've learned one thing about this, like, the justice system being, you know, to a certain degree open to the public is it's like by design. It's on purpose that way, for, you know, to not hide things, and to have transparency, and have the public awareness, you know, of things that are happening that pertain to them oftentimes. So yeah, so the response to, like, what would be, you know, incremental to the stuff that they already are privy to, what would be so much worse or whatever. And then the response was, even the most benign and routine, sorry, brain shortcut. Medical information was next. Medical information, physical and mental health of parties and non-parties. And I was like, isn't it by law, this stuff? And also, didn't Blake's side tell us that she's distraught? She's been having mental anguish. Like, they freaking said that to gain sympathy, if not empathy. They said that. They said that. I just realized that. I didn't even like realize when I was like listening and writing. They said that about themselves. Brian Friedman didn't say that. Justin Baldoni didn't say that. In the text messages, in the amendment, in the complaint, in the amendment, in the timeline, in the press, anywhere, they didn't talk about their mental health. Lively side talked about Lively's mental health and health in general, and like the way that, you know, it's caused anguish or whatever trauma to her children and all this stuff. They brought in their children too. They are doing this. I'm trying not to yell for your sake and also my parakeets that are sleeping, hopefully upstairs, and not hearing too much of this. Sorry, just kind of like, whoa, hold on. And then they say personal and intimate with really unrelated third parties conversation. Sorry, I didn't write what. Personal intimate conversations with unrelated third parties who have a marginal relevance to this case, where the PR value would be high, but the evidentiary value would be virtually non-existent, which is such a crap sentence or phrase, because it was like more to that. How do you know? And the judge later says, like, I get to decide what is relevant in terms of like the PR stuff, but with this, like, why are you saying marginal relevance? Well, if it's relevant, it's relevant. And I talked about it briefly earlier, the hypothetical that they give that I'm going to mention just a little bit is like highly relevant. It's not marginally irrelevant. And the evidentiary value is absolutely existent. And the person who it was said to or part of the conversation, yeah, maybe it's like fun for a little bit for us, like, oh, Taylor Swift or whatever. We don't care. Correct me if I'm wrong. Do we care that it's Taylor Swift or that it's like her sister, Blake's sister, or that it's like her like 15th cousin or whatever? We care about like justice for Justin. We don't really care past like maybe an initial like ooh, and that's it. No. I mean, they might be saying like, oh, she'll lose fans. I don't think Blake Lively's fans will be lost. Blake Lively's fans, like Beyonce fans, they don't care. They don't care about truth or, you know, whatever. They only are like blindly allegiant and loyal to their Taylor Swift or Beyonce. And they come after you and all this stuff. So she's not going to lose that much in that terms. Even if they say, like, they read, you know, this, like, conversation, like, oh, look what he did to me, or, oh, whatever. Unless it's like, oh, we need to get him. You know, I need, you know, control of this movie. How should I do it, or whatever. But my hypothesis is that that's not the conversation that they would be having. My hypothesis is they really believe that they are a victim, or Blake Lively in this case is the victim, and that they need to like overcome the suppression of this man, Justin Baldoni. So I think if there's any kind of conversations like this, that's my imagination, that they would be something more like the song The Man by Taylor Swift, you know, like how to be heard, take control from the aspect like you're a woman and you're never like allowed that space, so like go for it, or that kind of things, which also would make me think that Taylor Swift fans would have absolutely no problem with this. So yeah, but just so much like fluff. You're not saying anything. You don't know if it's marginally relevant. You don't know that the evidence would not be valuable enough. But the PR value of this client, this non-party, is like, going to sell papers. Also, selling papers, like, they're not making money off of this, because this will be public. So it's not like they can leak it for money. And also, if they leak it for money, it's not untraceable, is it? Right? So, like, that was not mentioned. But yeah, marginally, okay, sorry, limited to what I can talk about in court, dozens of these parties. She's limited to what she can talk about. She does, obviously, she doesn't want to give actual examples or actual names and so forth, but there's apparently dozens of these parties. How many parties are involved? Like, why are there so many people that are, how many like high PR value people are there in one? Also, because I imagine, well, Ryan Reynolds is a party, so he's not a non-party, and he would be, if he was a non-party, it would be moot because he's her husband. So yeah, marginally relevant information communication with high-profile third-party individuals was mentioned again. It was mentioned a lot, but it was just like in this part of it, I think, who are unrelated to the case would fall into the wrong hands. How? Why? Why? Do we not know about redaction? What? So to protect the info with high PR value, and I said, so she had nothing else to say, so she kept going in circles. Because she said the same thing over and over and over and over again. She was not short and sweet on this one. That was not, that was not thought out as far as like a Sabrina Carpenter thing, who worked with Justin Baldoni. And apparently someone was saying that she like snubbed or whatever Taylor Swift at the Grammys. I don't remember seeing anything like that. But anyways, not just because I didn't see it or because I didn't interpret it that way doesn't mean it didn't happen. I just don't have a clip of that or knowledge of that, but I wanted to mention it. I don't know. It's late and I'm in a weird place. And then the judge said, give me an example of the intimate personal conversations that would be actually removed from the facts of the fast. That is not what he said. That's what I wrote. From the facts of the fast. From the facts of the case. I don't know. That would be made attorney's eyes only, basically. Not asking you to reveal what you're trying to protect, but some definition to that category. And the lawyer actually was like, no, we will talk about what we're trying to protect. And she's like, it's just a hypothetical because I wouldn't have access to this anyway. I didn't write this, but I remember that stuck into my mind because that was a visceral, emotional response. Like, what? And so she's like, hypothetical. If Mr. Baldoni was really close friends with a very high-profile individual and was venting about his day, and he mentions something about our client in connection to what happened on the film set, that's the hypothetical. Its evidentiary value would be outshadowed by the who he was in communication with. Totally different than communicating with parties involved in the case or that were on set. And I wrote B freaking S. BS. BS. That is exactly relevant to the case. I would say, as a judge, if I was a judge, I would say, no, I'm not granting AEO for that. That's exactly what should be in the case at least for the parties. If not the public, okay. but at least for, the lawyer with the parties. But yeah, so to me, I said this earlier, that's not a hypothetical. That's a very interesting hypothetical. And then also, it's for her or the lawyer team to not have access to this information. It means that either they're not doing their job right or they're not allowed to do their job right. If, Blake and Ryan are withholding this information, lawyer confidentiality, they should reveal anything that either could help them or could hurt them so that lawyers can know how to defend them. But how many times, and this is just movies, but in movies we see, and I wonder how many times in the real world this happens where clients withhold information from their lawyer. If it ends up in the movie, I imagine that it happens a decent amount of time. So I guess that wouldn't be surprising either, but it would be a bad move because you want your lawyers to be a step ahead of the other side, or like at least in the same step. And I believe that Brian Friedman, if he's as good as we all believe that he is and everyone says that he is, I don't believe that. I think he went in there like, I need to see everything. I need to see all the communication. I need to see everything. So I know exactly what we need to how we need to respond in case anything comes out that is not looking that great, or how, like all of it. Like, why would you not? Like, that just sounds like terrible game plan. Unless you don't think it'll go anywhere, which it did go somewhere. It might not go to trial, but it did go somewhere. But yeah, that is like highly relevant. And it would not be outshadowed by The Who. If this was Lively and Taylor Swift communicating this, it's highly relevant. And again, maybe I'm speaking just for myself. I could care less that it's Taylor Swift, besides that initial like, oh, and besides the heaviness of them being supposedly best friends and Taylor being the godmother, or was the godmother to the children and all that stuff. But that's it. I wish I could understand lawyer talk. I would be like, we need to be transparent to have a fair trial. Yeah. Well, and that's kind of what the judge actually said. Well, no, he didn't say that. But I don't know. I feel like, yeah, that was kind of said in a way by someone, either Brian Friedman or the judge. I don't know. Maybe I'll get to that moment where I think that's what they were saying. And it's interesting because, yeah, it was like lawyer talk, but not that much. It's more, I feel like lawyer talk is knowing how to like navigate. I don't know. It was always kind of cool to me too, but sometimes I would be in lawyer talk mode on Facebook back in the day when I was on Facebook and Facebook was decent. And if someone would like get into an argument with me, I'm like just pulling out my little quill and really get into like argument mode and pulling out like facts from here, and from this, and reference from here. Yeah, it was fun. But the thing, counter argument to that is that there are some things, I've said this myself before this court hearing, that, say, let's put ourselves that, Justin has said some bad things about Blake Lively or something, or about like Jenny Slate or whatever, who is not even in this case. And that comes out not in the trial, but because Blake and Ryan had access to that. And for me, it's like, even if they don't leak it during the trial, but they leak it like a year, 2, 3 even, or even more after, because they had that. And they say this more so for the PR stuff. Like, okay, some things you can't like take out of your mind. Once that information hit your brain, it's in your brain. And so like there are some things that I would say should, be protected or could be protected. I think, though, for this argument, the historical pattern is that the Lively side has a lot more of leakage, of personal leakage. That sounds weird. But yeah, of like, in the complaint, putting in all the text messages from these people that were really, you could say, not really supposed to be involved in the way that she was involving them. Like, it was interesting because it seems like it was almost like a joint effort from, was it Stephanie whatever, the Jones Works, wait, Leslie Jones and Stephanie, are we, you know what I mean, by like Jennifer Abel's previous person, previous employer, and Blake Lively. They came together like, oh, we're going to like kill two birds with one stone. Because if it was about like smear campaign and stuff, yeah, I can see like the PR stuff, but Blake could have redacted their names and left in just Justin. Anyways, but she did that, where all the lawyers are saying usually a complaint doesn't include all of that. That comes later. It usually doesn't include that. So that was a PR move, which they didn't talk about that. But all the lawyers online say that. That's not usual to include all that information. It's pretty straightforward and simple and dry. And I don't know where I was going with this. Yeah. Oh, the transparency and the fair trial. Yeah, so historically they have leaked more, and have talked about more, and they're also the ones that are more willing to hide their own stuff because they've not really shown anything. They've shown Angie's from Sony, her communication, her texts, but not Blake's text to her or emails or whatever they were. Isn't that interesting? There was nothing. Anything that Blake was saying was in her paraphrasing, in the paragraphs. And so that's to Brian Friedman's point later on, where it's like, we shouldn't be having the burden to come to the court every time that they request something or that they say designate something as AEO, attorney's eyes only, because they will abuse that privilege or whatever, and they'll mark everything that way. It should be the burden on the people who want to protect something. Just like with, Baldoni, the Wayfarer side, like if they want something to be AEO, they should be the ones saying, hey, can we have this extra measure for this particular piece? And I think that's a very valid argument no matter what, unless you're talking about, trade secret type stuff like Pepsi and Coke, where ahead of time, like these for sure will be like competitor information that is like in, at the main point of this whole thing. The case is about the SH and smear campaign. Nothing else should be allowed besides what the case is about. Did he SH her? Did he smear her name? I don't understand why they don't show this evidence. Yeah. And which is also what Brian Friedman says later. It's like, we don't care about the other clients of the PR firms. We don't care about like, security, who's their security and all this stuff. Like, what are you talking about? Okay, so and then there was the judge cut the person off, the lawyer off, and said any other categories you had in mind, because it was just going in circles. And she's like, Kardashian something. She didn't say Kardashian something. I wrote Kardashian something. Like a previous like Kardashian like lawsuit or something. One of the reasons we use the language we did without categories, because it's hard to predict what might fall into this. And it's not difficult to envision the type of material speaking about children, profound mental health issues, location of their home or something. That would not be private for non-public figure people. Oh, okay, sorry. That was like my thoughts. When they mentioned children, I said, but this is why you redact things. Well, no, general. And then when they mentioned children, I was like, but that would not be private for non-public figure people. Like regular people's children are free for all. And like this client has children, that client has children. They can't respect that. And you know, like if that's what it comes down to, like, hey, like you cannot mention children's names or like anything around. I can't even imagine what would be, you know, besides like them proving that children were in Justin's presence on the jet or at the penthouse or something. But other than that, anything that required any more information, I think that both parties would be like, yeah, of course that's, you know, off limits to the public and stuff. Yeah, but I feel like this is convenient. Like, oh, well, we don't know what might fall into. This is kind of like that blanket subpoena for the phone carriers. Like, well, we don't know what's out there. So, also, why have you not? If this is them asking for protections about their stuff, how could you not know what might fall into this category? Right? Right? Yeah, they can redact. Exactly. And also, on top of that, as Brian Friedman later says, and I keep going, you know, back and forth, is like the protective order already covers a lot of this and is pretty fair. Like, it's not like all of this has not been addressed and agreed upon to a certain degree to be confidential and private from the public, at least. And some of it is like not even relevant. So, what are you talking about? Yeah. And again, to me, it bothers me because the main argument is, as Brian also caught and talked about, and as it sounds to us too, is like their main argument. I think the judge also, like the main argument is like, because we're high profile people and we have high profile friends, we should be treated differently. And it's like, okay, so to play devil's advocate, on one hand, it's kind of understandable because, like, if it was you and me, who'd actually even know we were in court, right? But it doesn't mean that our safety would be less in danger, depending on the, you know, context and stuff, because it depends on the context. But I can sort of understand why, like, because they were saying, and I'll just keep reading, but they were saying at one point, like, well, but people can, like, deduct things based on context clues. Um, and so the attorney eye's only argument is not so much about the public, because that's protective order, confidentiality level. This is above that. That's like just the attorney and the, like the Wayfarer, the people themselves, or Lively and Ryan Blake, Ryan. They can see what their attorneys see. So that kind of level of protection. And I just feel like there's such rare instances I can imagine in such a case. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a judge, I'm not them, so I don't know who am I. But that, it just, right? It feels that way. I hope the judge denies the AEO or whatever it's called. Yeah, attorney's eyes only, AEO. Yeah, I'm curious. My personal theory earlier was that he was probably going to be somewhere in between. But now that I'm talking about it more, like it makes me think I would deny it. I'd be like, no, you get to come to me, you know, with things that are that important, that, you know, necessary to be withheld from, not just from the public, but from the clients themselves. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Like, it feels like Blake and Ryan see, or, you know, because this is the thing, like, we're not talking so much about the public. So, like, what are they imagining? Oh, I guess it's like leaking to the public. Yeah, so they see them so nefarious, like such like awful people. Like all they're waiting for is like, again, projection. If you're that way, that's what you see. When someone cheats, and not everyone, but when they cheat and they really want to project, or that's like their ego, like self-defense, they call you a cheater, you know, and they really believe it too. And that's what I feel like is happening. Like, and also, like, they're smear campaigning Justin right now. LA Times article was not a smear campaign. That just came out of, like, the blue, just out of the kindness of the LA Times heart. I don't think so. I don't think so. Give me an example of the, oh, yeah, sorry, I read that. Any other categories? The children stuff. Okay, moving on. So, hold on. She made this public and now she's asking you for privacy. Yeah, how convenient. There's definitely something the lawyer are trying hard to keep private. Yeah, well, a lot. My theory is her scheming with Taylor Swift about this. Again, not necessarily that she did it from a place where she knew there was no SH, or she knew that there was, you know, whatever. Even if they were scheming in ways that, where she really believed there was SH. Because we still don't know if she really believes that or she doesn't believe that. We just know that she used that. That's all we know. Or at least for me, like, I'm not convinced that she knew or she didn't know. I have not seen enough evidence on her understanding of the SH claims that she's claiming. But that's my theory, is that they were like talking to each other. I think they're trying to keep exactly the stuff, or like how they talked about him, and you know, they also might be like foolish, like Brian Friedman doesn't have the mind to understand things like that. Like, so I don't know what they're doing. I don't know. Anyways, why would your objectives be accomplished by something that's more narrowly tailored? This is the judge. If they said something that's going on set or relevant to this case, I wouldn't imagine it would be attorney's eyes only. Exactly. Mr. Friedman, oh, sorry, I said exactly. Mr. Friedman has a right to discuss that with his clients if something's like mentioned about the set or whatever. Like his lawyer said, Blake is going to be like, I don't want Baldoni to know or see this. Yeah. Sorry, I'm like, I forgot to like put you guys's comments and things. Also, always let me know. Sorry, let me know if like there's a day or in general you don't want me to do that too. I just see that all the time. I don't know. So, but let me know. Sorry. So this was the judge saying, and the response was, I appreciate the court's question and thought that you put into this question. This is what the Blake Lively's lawyer said to the judge. This is why I'm saying, like, this was not kiss butting. Kiss butting. Yeah. This was not about kissing the judge's butt. Maybe they thought that. If that's the case, her lawyers are just as narcissistic as she might not be, but seems like she is. They're just as delusional, and they are just as, you know, there's emotional intelligence. They are just as lacking in that, because that does not come off as like kissing someone's butt. That comes off as like condescending. Like, for a lawyer to say to the judge, you want the judge on your side, and you're saying to the judge, like you're smart. Like I didn't know that you were that smart. I thought you were dumb. It's like basically what they said. I appreciate the court's question and thought that you put and the thought that you put into this question. Oh, maybe evidence her and Ryan did plan something. I imagine texts or emails. Yeah. Yeah, but that wouldn't apply to, right? Because I think this is more non-parties. I think that's more non-parties. But they could easily, that's the thing. It's like, they could easily say, well, this is AEO. This is, this category. So it goes into AEO. This is this category. Because they didn't even put categories. Because I think that's the thing. Because they were saying, like, they didn't put categories because they don't know what might come up. So they're asking not even for, like, specific categories, which is kind of what it sounds like, but it doesn't. Because the judge asked, like, can you give me the categories that you want covered under AEO? And they're, like, kind of evading the question. They're saying, like, well, we don't know what comes up, so we don't want to limit ourselves to put categories. So they just want a blanket AEO. So basically all of it could be AEO, attorney's eyes only, right? That's, again, not sure if that's what it's saying, or what they're saying, but that's what I'm hearing now. So yeah, like that stuff would fall into this, Maria. So yeah, so I appreciate the court's question. It would be too narrow to limit it to the parties because they make business of, I'm sorry, sometimes, me and my fast typing don't work out. I don't know what that meant. Add evidence to figure out who the party is based on circumstance. This is what they were talking. Yeah, it would be too narrow to limit to certain parties, because the evidence also could be used to figure out who those parties are, or based on circumstances, details, whatever. Did that make sense what I said? I think so, somewhat. I don't know. So the judge says, if you know my model protective order is not sufficient. This is where the judge got snappy and snarky. Maria, I didn't understand what the judge meant by categories. Oh, so like what categories of information do they want to be attorney's eyes only? And that's what they were like, well, we didn't choose, we use specific language to be broad and not have categories because we don't know the type of stuff that will come up. We don't know all the categories that might come up that we would want attorney's eyes only to be attorney's eyes only. Right? Did that make sense? I know. Yeah. So the judge. This was probably one of the highlights of the judge. If you know my model protective is not sufficient, but the application of the protective order doesn't apply to the lawyers, but applies to the parties as well. As well, where the parties need to sign. I probably did not write this. I don't think this makes sense how I wrote this, but I will explain. They will be liable for contempt if they violated. So why would that not be sufficient? So the judge is like, if you have been praising me how smart I am and how good of a job I have done and I'm doing, and so my model protective order that I signed into effect or like agreed on or whatever, is sufficient, or I guess it's not sufficient, but like these, not just the attorneys, their clients as well are liable, or they're is it held liable for the protective order? Is that the word? I'm kind of getting lost in here. Like yeah, they're held liable if not just the lawyers, but also anyone pertaining to the lawyer team, pertaining to all the Wayfarer parties, all of them, when they receive a certain information that's marked under the protective order, they need to sign that they will not reveal this information per that thing that I pulled the other day. Like they had like the template of what they will sign Let me see if I can like pull that up fast too, to see what exactly, they said in that one. I don't remember which one it was. Order denying is moot. Letter response to motion. Nope, that is not it. What is this? That is not it either. Motion for discovery. Nope. Motion to stay discovery. Motion to leave hard copy materials. This is the NIC. Sorry, I could also like share this so it's not like just me. Like medical or business, things like that. Yeah. Yeah. Or like children, or like, yeah, basically, yeah. Probably parties that have nothing to do with this case, Maria. Yeah. Yeah, that's what they're kind of trying to say. Like, these, like, parties are, like, marginally relevant. Like, they're on the outskirts of relevancy of this case. And they shouldn't be pulled into this. And their private information and stuff shouldn't be pulled. Yeah, her lawyer wasn't specific. And that was the point, exactly, Arnaldo. That was the point, Maria. Like, they didn't want to be specific because they don't know. I'm, alleging that they don't know, but they might not exactly all that there is there that they would want to keep private. But yeah, those kind of categories, medical, not just like records, but I guess medical information through texts maybe is what they're trying to say. Any kind of conversations around those things, children, whatever else they mentioned. Is this one? Nope. Motion to dismiss. This one, maybe. Nope. I don't know these words, so I'm like, I just clicked on that one. I'm like trying to find. Gosh darn it. No, this was granting and in part denying letter or motion for discovery. Notice for appearance, joint letter. Oh, wait. Is this one? I think this is it. So I acknowledge that I have read and understand the protective order in this action governing the non-disclosure of those portions of discovery material that have been designated as confidential. I agree that I will not disclose such confidential discovery material to anyone other than for purposes of this litigation, and that at the conclusion of the litigation, I will either return all discovery information to the party or attorney from whom I received it, or upon permission of the producing party, destroy such discovery information. By acknowledging these obligations under the protective order, I understand that I am submitting myself to the jurisdiction of the United States District Court for the Southern District of New York for the purpose of any issue or dispute arising hereunder, and that my willful violation of any term of the protective order could subject me to punishment for contempt of court. And they talk about contempt of court later too. But basically, this is saying like anything that is marked confidential in discovery you will not be able to disclose during the trial or after the trial, ever. You need to destroy it. If the other person allows you to, just destroy it, like on faith, or return it. Which, returning it in today's age when you can like take photos and stuff is questionable. But basically, even if you keep it, you cannot use it ever. So that's the protective order. I'll do this another time because I want to get through this, but these are the things, and I mean, I guess it is relevant if, it's not too late. I don't think I have too much, but sometimes I talk so much, so it takes a while. But if it's before 1 o'clock, so we're at 12:30 right now, 12:34. I might go or like skim through this. If not, I'll just read it and relay, the nutshell version later, or read it. I don't know. So he's saying, like, if this isn't enough, why would this not be enough? If like this holds not just the lawyers but the parties involved liable for leaking or sharing any kind of confidential discovery material, why would this not be enough? And the response to that, excuse me, yeah, Maria, this is good enough. I would agree. And the judge seems to agree as well. Response is, as you and I both know, is that contempt proceedings can take a while, and it would not be sufficient to unring the bell. Mental health records mentioned again. Apparently, I didn't write it down. What the heck I wrote? I think it's BS, so it looks like they've been distraught. Okay, yeah, that's what I wrote. And they said something again about because the PR value is too high for parties to comply with not leaking. So they're like, they're imagining we have to leak this information because it's a Taylor Swift message. That's basically kind of what they're implying. Which I feel like, one side is trying to save their life and the other side is making it about like making money. But I mean, that makes sense, right? Like, if someone leaks something, it's like, well, whoops, what are you going to do about that? The information is already out in the public, right? And that's understandable. It's understandable. That doesn't mean, though, that all stuff should be attorney's eyes only. And the judge goes into that. But yeah. So her lawyer wasn't, this is good enough. Wait, sorry, I thought that was like another one that popped up. Oh, and I was saying, like, I think it's BS. This whole mental health records thing, I don't even remember what they mentioned about it, but mentioning it again, it's like, one, they said it about themselves. They describe themselves as like, Blake is so distraught, her family, her children, Ryan, blah, 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 blah. Everyone's just like in agony, mental anguish, or whatever they said. And so I feel like they're pushing for this. Maybe it's there, maybe it's not, in my opinion, because they mention it so many times. I almost want to say that it's so because they knew this is public, so we can hear that and say, oh, she's like really gone through it. And I say that no matter who she is, I believe that she is going through it. Like, this is not easy on them, physically, mentally, all that stuff. This is not a joke. This is like, not just like about fame or whatever. It's like money, a lot of money that, is like trust funds for kids or, for them, whatever. Like, and it's also about just the stress of the fear, the anxiety, no matter what it's like kind of on the surface about, like, that affects them. So I'm not saying that they're not distraught and affected, emotionally, mentally, etc. I part of me is like, but not to that extent that they want us to believe. Or, sorry, I take that back. It's not about the extent. It's more like they want us to sympathize. They want us on their side. I think they're using that. And it's kind of like a fair assumption to make because they've been using so many things for sympathy and empathy. Starting with the whole thing, I feel like, whether or not there was SH, she used it to gain control of the movie, to get a PGA mark, which I can't wait if this is really proven and all that. I can't wait for SAG to be held accountable to remove that PGA mark, as they say in their, thing in my video with the things, with the film hierarchy, thumbnail. I read like on the SAG like guidelines, and then also under what circumstances the PGA mark can be revoked. And this would be one if there's coercion. So, yeah. Sometimes I'm like, my brain. But yeah, this whole high PR value, blah, 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 blah. I hope the judge will make a decision this week coming. Yeah, I was kind of honestly expecting it already, so I was surprised that there's none. Whoopsie, sorry. So the judge says, but there is a huge amount of information, I presume, that is of PR value that is also centrally relevant to the case that will, if the case goes forward, become public. It will be in connection with motion or something for summary judgment. I don't even, did those words make sense? If the case goes to trial, very strict rules to closing the courtroom apply or something. Meaning, well, okay, sorry. Those would be challenging obstacles. So a lot of what you're talking about is just inherent in the case. High profile person in an industry where there's a lot of interest, it's gonna get picked up by the press if something. There's a public interest in how the courts are being used, and the court has to respect. It doesn't mean you can't have discovery be private, but the stuff that's relevant will be disclosed eventually. So I'm not sure because I wrote this and I don't really, remember exactly what I heard and all this stuff. But basically, this part is what I'm hearing about this is we know that the courtroom will be closed as far as like there's no like streaming of it like with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, stuff like that. But I also hear, and I might be understanding this wrong, because he's starting to say like if this goes to court, if this goes to trial, if we get to court in trial format, whatever, anything that's relevant to the case will be public. And so there's like challenging obstacles to put to what they're asking for, because eventually if they're relevant it will be public anyways. And also what you're talking about is probably relevant. Or if, again, I don't know if, so a lot of what you're talking about is just inherent to the case. I don't know if he's saying like it's just like relevant to the case or inherent, like of course it won't be disclosed, the things that are like that private or something. But right, I think that he's saying like, well, most of the stuff will be disclosed, so what are you fighting so much for? And then he's saying there's a public interest in how the courts are being used, and the court has to respect that. And I love that. I don't know, I just love that moment, that phrase, that, like, he's basically like, whereas lively parties are kind of making the public be a puppet or like less than, or yeah, something to be controlled, manipulated, lower on the totem pole, should not have equal rights, all this stuff, they should have different rights, etc. With this phrase, to me it sounds also in that sense of like, no, the public needs to be respected, and laws that make this information that is made public should be respected, and it's that way for a reason. I don't know, I just liked how he said that. And the response is, it is absolutely not in our ultimate interest to prevent the public from seeing all the evidence, but the extremely private. It allows us to keep with your honor schedule. And this is like, whoa, we took a left turn. This is like, oh, we're not getting what we want, So like, let's dig deeper. Let's like go faster. Let's like go harder. Check out Daily Mail. Okay. Let me also like finish this part too. Is it on the like homepage of Daily Mail? Oh yeah, I did see that. Well, there's other people on the front page. Block. Did you guys hear about the Gene Hackman and wife news? I was like, that was hard. It's so weird. So are you talking about this? Like, I don't know. Did I not mention this? I might have not mentioned it, but yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I had seen this. I think maybe I mentioned it on Lauren's live in the chat. Like, yeah, Maria. She was the only one, which is brave, strong. I would have shrinked up. Like, I wouldn't even have gotten to that point when I was like, oh, I'm the only one here. But she was like strong about this. I know she like really from the beginning had like enough already before. And yeah, I did see this. Justin for Baldoni. Justin for Justin. Justice for Justin. Did I say Justin? Justin for Baldoni. Yeah. Awkward 3-word response to Blake Lively question fuels feud rumors. I don't think so. What was with the latex though? This is a choice. Also looks like it's not very comfortable. It's a little sweaty. But yeah. It's an interesting choice. And the like cowboy, like what is going on? What is this movie? Based on their outfits, it's like just a mess. They were wearing the same kind of like neckline, but yeah. Anyways, I don't like latex. It looks just uncomfortable. I just feel sweaty, just and clingy. I don't know. But yeah. All right. I wanted to see him and his reaction, and if he got asked, what's his name? Golding? Shoot, I'm sorry, I don't remember his name. They did not post photos of just the two of them on the red carpet. I don't think there's. I don't know. I don't feel like there's a. No shortage of Blake Lively fans. How screened were these fans, right? Like, kind of a Taylor Swift event. Like, are you sure you're a fan? Prove to us that you're a fan. Probably went through like all their social media, made sure that, you know, they didn't just turn the fan randomly. Yeah. She's being extra nice, I feel like, too. All right. Yeah. So, yeah. Go Colonel Kurtz. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So the hot air that the response was, it allows us to keep with your honors schedule. Isn't it leading to coming to the court no matter what? If you designated something AEO and Mr. Friedman says it's too broad for a particular thing and he wants to challenge that in order to discuss it with his clients, I'm going to have to deal with that. This is the judge. So not sure how relieving the burden of the court or the parties goes. And the lawyer's like, the default will allow materials to come on more quickly because, you know, it feels safer. It's safer. And this will reduce the burden on court because it's a more wholesome all at once kind of approach. basically it's like kind of threatening, like, well, if you don't give us this, then we will, draw this out, because we're like, I don't know, is this, AO? Is this not? Is this, or is that this way? They don't want most of this kind of just proves, like, we don't want most of the things to be seen by Baldoni or Heath or Abel or Nathan, right? Those are the ones. I'm like, Brian Friedman, like, who are the parties? Who are my parties? Is that all the parties? And oh, this is where I said I can see their point from a place of fear and protection, but not fairness necessarily. So if I was in their shoes and I was afraid and I wanted extra protection, and I, said something or didn't say irrelevant, like what was, but I feel like I want to be protective, I would fight to be as private as possible. So I see their point. Doesn't make it fair, right? But selfishly, like, I would probably argue the same way. Probably hope for the same thing. The judge, first, if I issued an AEO, word likely will have to turn into what? Oh, yeah, sorry. The word likely will have to turn into highly likely. Likely would not be sufficient for AEO category. So he's saying to them, like, okay, if I do give you the AEO, like, I don't want to see just likely harm, like things, categories, information that will likely harm the parties. It needs to be like highly likely. Like, the consequences need to be that much more strict, or the potential consequences. And Macaulay, on behalf of Vision PR, says that's what we're really looking for. And then, they had like different points or something. Paragraph 1, reference to testimony and presentation by the parties / counsel to or in court. There's no way that I'll go to sign a PO that defines info that is submitted to the court. That is my ruling. No need to arguments on that. Well, this is like the judge again saying that, like, this was the one thing that, like, I don't need to hear you guys arguing about this. This is like my ruling already on this part, which is, what did he say? Because I read it, but I didn't understand it. Reference to testimony and presentation by the parties or the counsel to or in court. Is a paragraph of the thing? Yeah, probably. Let's read at least that one. Any person subject to this protective order who receives from any other person subject to this protective order any discovery material, i.e. information of any kind produced or disclosed pursuant to and in course of discovery in this action that is designated as confidential pursuant to the terms of this protective order, hereinafter confidential discovery material, shall not disclose such confidential discovery material to anyone else except as expressly permitted hereunder. So I don't remember why I wrote this. It made sense at the time. But basically, I think they were arguing something or whatever. Or no, he was replying to, like, all of it. Like, okay, so first, like, what's the word? Like, I forget, I forget the word. But anyways, like, for one, if I do issue this, the word likely needs to become highly likely. You need to prove, like, extreme harm, not just like, oh, it might harm. Second, to whatever that was said, a reference to testimony and presentation of stuff by the parties, already mentioned it and signed it in the PO, so that is still my ruling. No need to, like, hear anything further about that, because that's what it stands. Third, high-profile individuals, for example, the PO refers not clear of that high-profile individual, why there needs to be a reference to that. Oh, so he's like, I don't understand why we're talking about a high profile individual, why this is referenced. There's also ambiguity in the PO, in the protective order, whether that info already is public, or info that is already public is to be treated as confidential, or attorney's eyes only, because like photographs of family members that have already been shared with the Wayfarer parties or the press, that is not in my mind proper subject for the order. And the person says that we would be fine striking the high profile individuals, and that is included in third parties mention, and also fine to with the things that are already out there. So sorry. So what he was saying is that we're already in the protective order. Third parties were already, or non whatever parties were already mentioned. So why it needs to be a separate, definition or mention of these high profile individuals is the same thing. So they're like, okay, fine, we'll take that wording out. And then the judge asked for everyone to identify themselves, because someone was saying something, since this is a public meeting, which I also thought was like an interesting one. I didn't write all of it, but it was a nice little moment. Excuse me. And now we're going into the Wayfarer mode. Like I said, I talk a bit too much. So Brian Friedman saying, I think it's rather offensive that anyone would object to the model protective order. In fact, we agree. Seems the other side is asking for celebrities to be treated differently, and some law apply. Like, they agree on the protective order. Like, everyone agreed. The judge agreed. Everyone's in agreement with that one. I think he agreed, right? Seems the other side is asking for celebrities to be treated differently, and some law applies to them that otherwise would not apply to normal everyday people. The judge comes in. I hear you but I want to make sure that you address the PR firms too. He says like you can continue down with what you're saying, but he just wanted to make sure that because everyone kind of forgot about the PR firms, because it's like a secondary afterthought almost. But asked to address proprietary info relevant to the business that they can't just forget about in their minds, put out in their minds. Make sure you are covering that too. And Friedman's like, cool. Let me address that first. So he's like, who people represent and who they speak on behalf of is well known. It's all in the trade publications, in magazines and articles, etc., which firm represents who as their publicist. It's not only disclosed to public, but on a routine basis go to the press to why their client should be or shouldn't be talked about in the press, which is what I was saying. I got that right. I remembered that right. We're not interested who is represented by PR firms. In fact, Jen Abel used to work for Stephanie Jones, so that's done. I don't think he said that's done, but I think I wrote that shorthand. The New York Times obtained from the parties again, and the judge cuts him off and says, that's the allegation. And I said, he didn't point that out when Lively parties were spewing allegations. And then someone interrupted. I don't know what of the other lawyers. And the judge said, thank you, but I'll call on later who else wants to speak. I guess this is where, the YouTubers were saying someone like tried to object or something. I think they were just like butting in. And Friedman said, I'm not making allegations. I'm quoting the New York Times themselves. This is not Texaco, Pennzoil, Apple, Microsoft, Coke, and Pepsi with trade secret formula. And if some information needs to be highly protected, they can come to the court and say so. Okay, sorry. Where am I? Okay. So the judge says, alleged that things can be untraceable. They allege that things can be untraceable. And Friedman said, there's been already a disclosure of location, etc., burden on parties. So he didn't really respond to that. Like, I think, or at least as far as I wrote, that this whole thing that, you know, Wayfarer side allegedly, you know, said that they did something that was untraceable, which someone said online, like, is that a thing? Is that really possible nowadays? Maybe it's hard to trace, but not untraceable, especially by the CIA, you know. But then what I wrote is that, and maybe this is how he responded, that for the Wayfarer party, it's already been location, some sort of location information has already been disclosed and caused a burden on the parties. And the judge said other things mentioned by the other side, security measures, business plans, etc., tailor response to those specifics. Because, sorry, I think I missed, like, as far as the location, apparently, like, or maybe they answered later, like, Wayfarer disclosed it, or the public disclosed, like, something that they didn't. I don't know. Maybe I'll come to that later. The judge said other things mentioned by the other side were security measures, business plans, etc. So tailor your response to those specifics, please. And so Friedman said, no one is interested in what someone's security is doing. Hasn't been even the suggestion, not even remotely relevant to the case, what someone's security is doing. It's a complete ruse and irrelevant to the proceeding. In respect to medical records, there's a process in the model order asking to meet and confer, and we would agree that should be designated as something confidential. And something that is not relevant to the case or has been disclosed yet. It's highly unusual to have a blanket AEO provision preventing to get info from our clients if it's relevant information. And the likelihood of these things, we won't object to likely. It's clearly nonsense. The only people mentioned as third parties is an executive from Sony whose name is mentioned 3 times in Lively's amended complaint, and we've gone out of our way to not mention third-party names. Sorry, there was something like earlier that I meant to say, because I thought I wrote it. I don't know if it was a thought or something he said. Oh, that they were, maybe it's coming up, but that the protective order has this process of like meeting, conferring, like, yes, this is, we agree, both parties agree that, or all parties agree that this should be confidential or shouldn't be confidential. And that if it's not, sorry, if it's not agreed upon, then they can go to the court. And then the judge, how does it work? They produce it to you, and there's a pause before you present it to your clients. And then the response was by Friedman, when they produce it, they say, we want greater protection. Please don't share that with the client. Then meet and confer, like meet and, you know, see, do we all agree or not? If we don't agree, we'd meet with the judge. Got ahead of myself. I literally it was right there what I just said. And the judge is saying, isn't that what the AEO is supposed to do? And Friedman says the difference is the burden on who is the one running to the court under the MP. And he didn't say this, but basically I think it's inferred by Friedman at least that this way they would be running so much, they would, or maybe it would be discouraged that they would run to the court as much as they would have them run to the court saying, hey, this shouldn't be AEO, I want to discuss this with my client, because they would probably blanket almost everything as AEO. Whereas if it's like on their burden, like maybe they'll be discouraged to run to the court that much. Under the model protective order, I said muddle, like muddles, model. They're entitled to ask for greater protection. Already agreed on that. We shouldn't have to run to court every time that we are the ones running to court. I wonder if this is how he spoke, or I just like wrote this so fast. There shouldn't be a presumption that they're entitled to greater protection. It should be on the party seeking AEO protection. And to me, honestly, I feel like that is completely fair. If you want greater protection in just life in general, I feel like it's on you. Whoever wants the special treatment, or not special treatment, but whatever, like it should be on them to say, hey, I want this treatment. This is my boundary. It's on you to speak about your boundaries. It's not someone else to like mind read or like say like all of that is my boundary. Don't come near me. Don't touch me. Anything. But let's like be friends or like be in a relationship or whatever. No, like you come like case by case basis. That's a weird analogy. The judge says anything else, and then he says paragraph 16, to not transmit any confidential info over the internet or use in communication that flows through, including text messages, Snapchat, Instagram, Reddit, etc., other online platforms. This would prevent me from sending an email to my own colleagues about anything that would be confidential. Then the other side, I guess the judge wanted the other side to come later. And then in closing, Freeman said, I don't think this case is any different than any other case. Just because there's a celebrity, they have to get preferential treatment. He doesn't think that. We already agree with the model protective order. You'll see too much of us if this is passed. That's Friedman's warning to the court. And then the judge says, okay, so paragraph 16 responds, go. Vision PR lawyer says, okay, Mr. Friedman made the argument for us. He used disparaging language, etc. The judge says it would be for me to determine whether she was brought in this case inappropriately. I did not write everything, obviously, because that's what they were saying. Like, our client was drawn into this inappropriately. Like, she shouldn't be part of this. She's irrelevant to this case, blah, blah, blah. They said this already once or twice before. This is the second or third time. And they said it in the other hearing as well. So yeah, so the judge is like, okay, enough of this nonsense. And if Mr. Friedman is not interested in it, there's no reason. This is where I am not very good at like remembering exactly what wait, hold on. What I wrote when I didn't write it well enough. The much smaller universe of what goes to court. I mean, that's what like Freeman was, right? He was arguing this. Judge, why are your concerns not entirely satisfied? And the person says, if the dispute is which party needs to go to the court asking for protection or to not. And I said, talking in circles. I was like, I'm not even writing this. Like, they're just talking in circles. Judge says, address the point that it's not proprietary information, like Allstate case of unlimited list of clients. I think someone mentioned Allstate. There are clients not yet disclosed, like leads, people that they're trying to like woo, into the PR firm, marketing plans, etc. The judge, the marketing plans in respect to It Ends With Us would not be considered to be AEO. That's highly pertinent information to this case. Some, if not all of it, is information that the parties are privy to already, and it's also already dated. Talking about other customers she's dealing with is what they meant. So I'm like, why even bring this up? What are we talking about? This is not... I mean, I get, is it about like their, is it like the PR side? Is it like fighting about clients and stuff? I didn't think it was, right? Okay, so then Lively's side, paragraph 16. We can agree to not prevent email internally, but publication on internet is what we're trying to prevent. We're happy to consider alternative language if initially it's like we're happy to change the language, but actually hold on, Mr. Friedman should change the language, and we're happy to consider it. So that's like their number 1 point. This is the one, like, okay, I have 8 points. Number 2, publicizing clients' addresses from from public domain never informed us of public disclosure. Don't know what I wrote there. But I also said, like, I think, like, when you have when you create an LLC or whatever, you put it under an address, and I believe like Blake Lively's businesses are under her personal address, or if not, they're in this one building in New York, and you can see it. That's public domain. That's not something that they can disclose, because that was, I think, one of the arguments earlier, like, oh, addresses and location and whatever can be discovered, like people, like clients, like personal location or something. Number 3, marks from, but I don't know what they were like saying here. Marks about attempt to limit third party, dozens of third parties specifically named and ID'd. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what I'm saying, what she was saying. False assumption that is predicating his arguments. He's assuming that Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, Miss Sloan, etc., would be the only people using this AEO, assuming they won't have issues. It's about the same burden. Every party will have that burden when they disagree with AEO designation. And this is where I wrote, except I was yelling in this, but I'm not going to yell. Historically, Lively Party has been much more like, we want this private, we want this private, we want this private. And Wayfarer Party was a lot more open. They're like, oh, you're going to disclose our text messages? Or here's more text messages, including yours. Here you go. We have nothing to hide. You want more from us? We'll disclose more from us. So, again, not saying that's what they would want, or if that they don't have things that they don't want to hide. But I think what Brian Friedman didn't exactly say, but my understanding is the pattern seems to be more in favor that Lively would want to hide more. Actually, in court, which side is the plaintiff and the defendant? Which side is it? I imagine like this is the like Lively attacking side, and this is the defendant Wayfarer side. Like left and right. But yeah. So it's not that Baldoni and Heath and so forth don't have things that they want private, but they probably say like it's not going to be as much as they will want private. And then number 5, process he describes is the same as an attorney's eyes only process, the meet and confer and decide. But I believe that the process he was describing in the protective order is about confidentiality from the public, not from the clients themselves, which is attorney's eyes only, the difference. Medical records, security, etc. should be AEO. This whole security thing, judge was saying it would satisfy concerns that there would be a protective order having a category where you don't have to justify why there would be harm. Is this what I'm hearing? I think is what he said. And the person's like, no. Most cases set it up this way, designated as AEO, meet and confer. So like the cases this lawyer was saying she has tried, the norm is having things be AEO. I wonder if she is a trades secret type person, but we're not talking about trade secrets. What the types of people we're dealing with as third parties places the burden on them and that they shouldn't have. And this lawyer says, I've never seen something like that, where you don't have AEO for everything. Basically saying here, I think that the third parties, like, that are not involved shouldn't have the burden to ask for extra protection. That doesn't sound very like norm. 6, he should withdraw a subpoena from security firm of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. This is where I'm like, what is she talking about? Maybe I'll Google that really quickly. So how do you spell subpoena? Subpoena. Security. I'll finish this. Number 7, Miss Lively has no privacy because she has chosen to speak out against SH. Is that what you're saying? Number 8 started his argument that we're asking to be treated differently. AO is highly unusual, blah, blah, blah. However, he was involved in defending or whatever in a case involving Tarantino, case that they included an AEO. That's one of those moments of pause. Did they just say that kind of pause? He's saying it's unusual, but he had that one case where he did have an AEO. Talk about highly irrelevant. It's unusual because he had one case. To which Friedman said, Tarantino involved actual trade secrets, actual screenplay pages from Pulp Fiction, AEO typical in trade secrets cases, but not in cases like these. And Lively herself, this is like to the, okay, she has no, them alleging that, oh, now they're saying that she has no privacy since she, chose to speak out against SH. This is where, like, we're all like, hey, you spoke out and he's not allowed to speak out because you allegedly accuse him of this, because your word is the law of the land. You say this person did this, so he did it. But that's not how life works. So he's like, so she herself publicized 500 paragraphs in her complaint. 500 paragraphs? That's what I wrote. Where she detailed the SH claims and put that out there. My clients were adjudicated guilty right when the case was filed. My clients have a right to defend themselves, to tell the truth, or their truth. I don't know, maybe how it was said. That is not suppressing the victim. Amen, mic drop. It's a way of stopping where everything is going to be stamped as AEO and the burden should be placed on that party. He was responding to other things. And we think the protective order is good, and the judge laughs. And I don't know, they were saying something. That's where Dave was like, oh, they're flirting. I don't see anything. And then it was over. I think it was just abruptly over. I don't know. I don't have any notes beyond that. That's my all. Shoot, where is, okay. So I was like just trying to see. The only subpoena I see in the news is, from Lively side. 4. Whoop, 4. It might be somewhere buried or something. But I don't remember anything about Wayfarer asking for a subpoena on security. I remember that they asked for a subpoena or like for investigation on their side, because they were saying like, oh, well, a little too late. Like, you're investigating. Oh, no, they're investigating the complaints or whatever. And they're like, well, you didn't investigate it then. I remember that. I don't remember anything about security subpoena, so that's a weird one. I'm going to leave that one unread or whatever to look into for next time. But yeah, we got through it. I got through it. It is past 1 o'clock, so we'll not be reading the protective order. Probably other people have read it. I'm sure Lauren has read it. I think she reads everything. But yeah, that is all I have. That is all I have. I've not watched any movies. I started the Kingdom of a Planet of the Apes, which feels really weird to me. Gives me anxiety. But at the same time, it's interesting because it's like that animation type, and I don't know, it's interesting. And I think that's it. Yeah. I've just been trying to go to bed earlier. Not tonight. Well, earlier than earlier than 3 o'clock. Earlier than that. So, yeah. That was a lot. And so much will come out about this whole South by Southwest. Oh, tomorrow's International Women's Day. Oh, yeah, it's March 8th. Tomorrow's International Women's Day. And this feels just like the court hearing. Feels like a very abrupt end. I guess I don't have anything else. I read a lot. I've talked a lot. This is a little dragon fruit drink. I found out that it has. I just don't feel like ending it like, okay, guys, see ya, bye. I just want to wind down out of it. But yeah, I used to like this, and I found out that it has caffeine, and because sometimes it's just for my stomach. Caffeine can irritate that, and that's why I don't drink coffee that much, because otherwise coffee just kind of calms me down and just makes me happy. And I drink maybe coffee, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 times a month, maybe. I don't know, it's irregular how I drink it. And this kind of gave me that issue as well, but also because I think dragon fruit has vitamin C or something. It's not just dragon fruit in here. But it's a pink drink, so it's cute. And yeah. It was a week. It was a week. It was a week. It was a day. It was a lot. Definitely curious about this AO. Could be life-changing. Not a life-changing. What am I talking about? Ooh, a little too strong of words, Arena. It could be like super changing for all of us. But it does sound like the judge is very respectful of our right to be included in this conversation. Or not conversation, to be included in some of the knowledge that's, relevant to understanding this case and understanding the verdict. Eventually that will happen, or whatever settlement, I don't know. I don't really, I have a hard time with the settlement. I don't feel like that would be at this stage beneficial for either party. But we might get over it eventually that way, and forget about it or whatever. And my mind just kind of forgot, or I don't know, got lost on just making sure that everything was crossed off and stuff. Yeah. I guess it will be kind of an abrupt ending, because I don't know. I feel like because I felt like I was on when I was on Lauren's channel chatting already. So, oh, Maria, you didn't say what live you were on. If it was relevant of someone to watch, that we should go watch, mention that below in the chat. But yeah, I guess I was on for that, and I was on earlier today, and then I was on for this, so it's a lot of on. Whew. I feel awkward asking you guys anything. I think we're all let's just go to bed. let's get some sleep. See each other on Monday, unless something explosive happens. Always, But I'm trying to also put boundaries with myself, because I easily cross my boundaries as far oh, I need to be there. I need to like talk about this. News, breaking news or whatever, and not put my like health first. And we should never do that. None of us. Health comes first, and dogs and animals, pets, all that stuff. But yeah, have a wonderful night. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Let me know if you have any questions in this chat or in the comments. If anything was unclear, I tried to answer that categories question. Oh, that umbrella guy. Wait, what was the umbrella guy? You mentioned that. The umbrella guy did a graph showing. Oh, okay. Is that an easy Google? If it is an easy Google, I'm going to show that. And if it's not, I'm going to, Lively, Baldoni, I don't know, search. AI overview is not available for this search. It's like you didn't give us anything. Is he on X? Graph. Let's see. Is it this? This little graph? Oh no, this is articles. Wow, that's a spike. How interesting that in August it was more than it is now. Well, I guess because it's not articles, but isn't that interesting? Everything's kind of more on content creators. Oh, that was the live you were in. Oh, he's on YouTube? Oh, wait. This guy? Seems like it's this guy. Let's see. Is it this guy? Oh. Wait, this doesn't have it. Was it this? This was when is this? What is going on?
That whole police call is really funny. Like it is. God, it is fun.
I don't know if that means one of each or just one of
No, it's just
one of
one
those.
that falls into the count.
It's pretty depressing, is what
They're
it
like-
is.
Does he do like just court stuff in general? What is he about? So disturbing. I don't know if I could watch that face. Like it just makes me think of like nightmares or something. Okay. Well, I'll check out more of his stuff. Just, I can't do that. That is just too
So
disturbing.
today I want to bring you exclusive.
It's just too disturbing. Oh my goodness. But I might just listen in and not watch, not look. The live was good. It was a good stream. The 3-hour one, 3 hours ago. Oh yeah, check that out, guys. I guess. Cool. Well, yes. Have a good night, guys. Thank you so much again for tuning in, hanging out, asking questions, etc., etc. Have a great night. Have a good weekend too. Arnaldo, Angel, Maria, all of you guys. Thank you. Bye. Peace, love, and compassion. And the awkward moments before ending.